This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Rooker, it's a 5 on a deep center. Robert going back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Adolis Garcia sends on the other way. That sends Carroll back. He's at the wall. Grows. Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
Julio with an absolute nuke out to left field.
It's Glaber Day. And like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From humidors to Stuff Plus to walk-off dingers, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Monday edition of A's Cast Live as the A's start a huge series in Houston. It's a 4-game set. I'm not going to say I'm worried, but I'm a little bit worried. Turn my volume up. My headset up a little bit. There you go. Our buddy Geoff Blum is going to be here at 2:30. World Series hero, Cal Bear, television for the Houston Astros, and Bill Moriarty from the A's Farm Report. The farm system is getting interesting. It's getting real interesting. You can't say enough about Jacob Wilson. I mean, this kid, we will get into it. I didn't want to start the show with Jacob Wilson, but knowing we have Bill on, I mean, if you're not excited about somebody who you've drafted and is just not doing well, he's just not excelling. He is literally separating himself from everybody else. It's not an opinion. I'm not watching these games. I've only watched him in spring training. But this is the numbers show it. He literally is separating himself from everybody else he's playing against down there. And the guys who are great players in Major League Baseball and have really long careers, that's what they do. And it happens in every single sport. Usually the guys who are all world in college football end up being great NFL players. Guys who are all world in basketball. If a great young golfer is coming up and he's dominating everybody that's his age, male or female, they usually go on to the tour and they dominate there. I mean, certain people just separate themselves. If you're a junior hockey player and you by far are destroying everybody, it just goes to show like where your talent, and you move on, and these guys are in the NHL before you know it, and they have long, great careers. So this is like nothing new. This shouldn't be anything surprising. Especially when you're dominating people. You're not dominating juniors here. You're dominating other professional athletes who are all trying to get to the next level. Jacob Wilson, amongst young professional baseball players, is completely standing out from everybody. And I know we've talked a lot about it, but it's like, it's just fact. And you just wonder, like, how long do you have somebody stay down there? How long do you keep them down there? How long do you keep it going? Because, you know, at some point, if you're meant to be in a certain place, you got to get to that place. There's no point in holding somebody back for a long extended period of time unless it's financial. Right?
Yeah. And I don't think we're holding him down there for that. I mean, he just got called up to AAA Las Vegas. And in 2 of the 4 games he's played in, he's had multiple 3-hit games already. He's hitting .368 in AAA for the Aviators and Fran Reardon. He didn't play yesterday. I guess he originally was listed on the MILB app as a DH, but he didn't end up playing. Max Muncy ended up playing short, so he had a day off yesterday, and obviously the team's off today. But he's been killing the ball down there, and there's not a lot. I mean, he has 2 doubles, 7 hits. He hasn't have any home runs yet. He's walked once, only struck out once. So everything's there, and I think we're going to see him, maybe before August?
You think?
Am I going on a limb? Should I say this is my hot take for tomorrow with Johnny and you?
How like if he starts raking in AAA, he was hitting 455 in AA. Like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, you may have something really, really special. And it takes me back to just the other night because they were doing, was it May 9th that Tony Gwynn died? So MLB Network was doing the special, the anniversary, and you talk about Tony Gwynn, and you're like, when you got guys like that, we're not talking about power guys. We're talking about guys who just come up and just hit for 20 years. When Wade Boggs was in the minor leagues, Wade Boggs was clearly a better hitter than everybody he was playing against. Tony Gwynn was better than everybody he was playing against. And those, back then, it's just, they weren't doing contracts like they do now. And they were worried about the free agency and everything. But back then they're just like, yeah, this guy is so good. What are we doing having him down there? Like, you got to bring him up. Let him play. Let him be where he's supposed to be. Jacob Wilson may be that guy. By the way, this is what scares me. The tail of the tape going into this 4-game set. Because the Houston Astros offense isn't the problem. And by the way, we could get into it a little bit later. Justin Verlander, wow, yesterday in Detroit, 101 wins at Comerica Park. I mean, Justin Verlander's career, what is that, 259 now?
Yeah, I think I heard you say that on postgame yesterday on NBC Sports California.
Well, yeah, because I was looking at Baseball Reference wouldn't have updated it yet, so I believe it should be at 259 career wins.
259, yeah.
259. It's real. The 300 is real, and maybe just maybe I haven't even brought this up to you yet. Could Justin Verlander be traded? Something we'll get into Geoff Blum about. Which is, I'm not trying to be hot take here, but at 2:30, ask him like, if things don't turn around for the Houston Astros, do you trade Justin Verlander? And for Verlander, you want to be traded because his quest, as much as he wants to win a championship, he's won the World Series, he's won Cy Young. The quest now for him at his age is to get to 300 wins. That's the journey. That's where he needs to go. So he needs to be on teams that are winning and winning a lot of games. And that just may be, how about this name? Justin Verlander, the Baltimore Orioles. Mike Elias, who used to be in the front office for the Houston Astros, now runs the Baltimore Orioles. Trading for Justin Verlander. I mean, the Mets are still paying a lot of what Verlander's making with the Astros, so maybe the Astros pay some. Next thing you know, you're the Orioles, you're paying nothing. But how about, because that's going to be the thing, the Orioles are going to beef up on starters, and obviously with Kimbrel, they need to go get somebody with bullpen pedigree. So how about Verlander going somewhere like Baltimore?
I mean, they have the prospects that they wanted to go out and get him. Verlander's getting paid 25. He's making $43.3 million this year, 25 being paid by the Mets. So 18.3 is being paid by the Astros. And then if he gets 140 innings, he has a player option for 2025, which is $35 million. So I could see Baltimore being a team that goes after him. They would be someone that we'll look at. You can never count AJ Preller out of trying to get a player if they've already made 2 major trades this year with the Cease and Arise. So maybe don't put it past him, but I think Baltimore is a pretty good fit for him.
Good. The Baltimore's a good fit for anybody.
What about the Yankees?
Anybody who's winning is a fit for Justin Verlander. Once again, championships are great, awards are great, but the quest is to get to 300. And at 359, it's legit. After having Tommy John surgery, his arm lasted so long. Then it gave out. Then he had Tommy John. He's got, at 41 years, was he 41?
Yep, 40. Just turned 41 in February.
Yeah, he's 41. He's got a couple more years left, and couple more years, he could be our last. And we, as much as you hate Verlander, you got to root for him because he's like the last guy we're ever going to have a chance to see get to 300. So that's something that's going to be interesting to ask Geoff Blum coming up here. But the tail of the tape, I got to tell you, for the A's, this is something that's fascinating to me, and I kind of want to save this for my big three. But when we go to the winter meetings every year, people equate dollars to wins. People equate dollars to success. And it's just that's not how human beings work. I sent you a great thing from Jerry Seinfeld last night. Did you watch that?
Yes, I did.
Where Jerry Seinfeld talked about, you know what? It was the 80s that killed this. He goes, in the 70s, people are like, do you have a cool job? Can you take care of yourself? You're winning life. But in the 80s, everybody became about making money. And now we view money as success.
Greed is good, as Gordon Gekko said.
Great movie, Wall Street. But there is major league proof. I mean, I could go to other sports. Was Tom Brady the ever the highest paid quarterback in the NFL?
No.
He was never. Was Michael Jordan ever the highest paid guy when he was winning championships in the NBA? Not even close. He was making nothing. All his money was coming from Gatorade and Nike. Wasn't until later they paid him. But money doesn't equate. I mean, if money equated to everything, the Yankees would have way more titles. They haven't won since 2009. I mean, we have heard nothing about the A's spending money, and I wish we spent more money. I'm on the record right now on this show. Hell yes, I wish we spent more money. Am I Captain Obvious?
Really going on a limb there.
But I'm like, Orioles, Yankees, and Dodgers, they're the only teams that have hit more home runs. So is it about money? Is home runs mean money? Do you have to have money to hit home runs? We get so it's about having the right human beings on your team. It's not about the dollar amount. I mean, if it was always about the dollar amount, look at the Mets and the Padres last year. No one spent more money than the Mets. How'd they do?
They didn't make the postseason.
San Diego Padres spent $1 bazillion, and it took the very last 2 weeks for them just to get, a game or two over 500? How'd they do?
Didn't make the postseason.
So it just shows that money doesn't equal wins, equal success in professional sports. It doesn't. The A's, with the lowest payroll right now, lead Major League Baseball with 6.64 runs per game in the month of May. How is that possible? If it's all about money, how have the A's hit the fourth most home runs, and how are they leading baseball this month in runs scored? There's 30 teams. You're spending less than anybody else, and you're scoring more runs this month. How's that possible? Because money doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to get at. When we go to the winter meetings, people just obsess over this. They obsess over it. It's just it's ridiculous.
You know, Baltimore's in the bottom half of the payroll.
Of course.
They're 24th, I think, in baseball.
Tell me what Baltimore's payroll is.
This is according to Spotrac. Right now, their payroll for their total payroll right now is $101 million. That's 24th in baseball. Only teams below them: Reds, Rays, Guardians, Marlins, Pirates, A's.
By the way, look at all these teams that are competitive, spending no money, according to people. Just to show you: Detroit, Milwaukee, Tampa, Cleveland,
Washington, Kansas City, although they spent the most money in the offseason. Yeah, which no one knows
20th.
about.
They're 20th in payroll.
Minnesota,
19th in payroll.
Yeah.
So you have the bottom half of baseball has basically some of the best teams by far, and they're spending no money. You can't equate to money. The thing for me about the A's right now is the problem. They pitched and couldn't hit. Now they're hitting and they can't pitch. Can't put both together at the same time, and that's why they're staring at 19 and 23.
And we just found out today there's another injury with the starting pitcher, with Paulie Winday, Paul Blackburn going on the injured list. Retroactive to May 11th with a stress reaction of the fifth metatarsal of his right foot. So Easton Lucas is back. I mean, he was just here, but he's back again.
So Joey Estes will stay in the rotation.
Plus, I guess Alex Wood has a shoulder issue. So what happens there? I mean,
Well, you have depth. That's why you that's why when you started the season and you said, well, Luis Medina, can't send him down, got a bad knee. Okay, put him on the 60-day IL. You'll be fine. And that's insurance coming later. Mitch Spence is a Rule 5, so he's got to make the club, or you got to send him back to the Yankees. And with the Yankees losing Garrett Cole early, they would have taken him back in a second. And you got Kyle Muller. So that's why you made sure these guys made the team out of spring training, because Muller had no options and Spence was a Rule 5 guy. You have depth and you have options, which is good because they need it, because Oakland has dropped 6 of 8 and starters have an 8.36 ERA during that time. That's horrific. And Mark Kotze can sell us. I can try and sell you all we can on Wood and Stripling being veterans and what they mean from a veteran presence, but they don't pitch well. You got to do something about it. And Ross Stripling, this is a huge start for him because his last start against Texas was horrific. He allowed a career-high 11 runs, 5 earned. Defense wasn't great, but he was just getting racked. It was an inning and 2/3, and it's like they left him in, and, you know, it was got to stop this fight. Got to stop it. It's over. Go back to your corner. So it's a big start for him. And what I love about talking like this is the fact that there's expectations. I said this yesterday on TV. I'll say it here. It's okay. It's okay to be a little critical. It's okay to have opinions and judgments and stuff about the team, because that means there's something there to talk about. Where this team was last year, there was nothing to talk about. It was over. If you're the White Sox right now, if you're the Marlins right now, the season's over. A's, where they are at 19-23, this season is we're still talking about things that are winning and a chance to be competitive, and where we can look at the standings. You're third in the standings. You know, as they say now, my God, if you can be 500 by August 15th, you're in this thing with all the different wild cards. It's a long way to go. We're in mid-May. If anybody in the standings right now, if I look at the standings and I just go, if you can be 500 by mid-August, that would put Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, and I'll even say Blue Jays, Guardians, Twins, Royals, Tigers, Mariners, Rangers, A's. I'll put Astros in there. I'm not going to put Angels. Angels aren't turning this thing around. Phillies, Braves, Nationals, Mets, Brewers, Cubs. I'll give Pirates, Reds, because you're one run away. Cardinals are done.
I couldn't believe they gave Oli Marmol an extension in the offseason.
Why do him and John Mozeliak? They're like this. Come on, we're going to give him an extension because we don't want to have those questions. We don't want the question. Awful, absolutely. And yesterday he went out there to do anything to like fire somebody up, because Marmol after the game even said, "I have nothing against this umpiring crew." Basically, he was saying, "Listen, I was just trying to fire up my team," and he got thrown out of the game. Cardinals done. That starts to throw Hensley, the closer, Arenado. I mean, there's some guys there.
And Goldie, oh my!
Oh, you can add. I don't think.
No, I'm saying Goldie looks lost at the plate.
But there's some guys there you could trade for.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want a third baseman with power? And is arguably one of the greatest defensive third basemen in the history of the game.
Someone could trade for Sonny Gray. If you want to move on from Sonny already, I know you just signed him.
God, I didn't think about that. You just signed Sonny Gray. Was that 4 years?
Yeah, 4. Was it 4
70 million, 80 million, whatever?
I mean, you got him. You signed Lance Lynn. You brought in Kyle Gibson. They brought in a bunch of veteran relievers this offseason.
Well, Hensley is the guy that you think Orioles right away, right? Like you'd be like calling.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
he doesn't make any money. He doesn't make money compared to what people will be talking about for the Orioles to go get.
All right, so Dodgers, Padres, D-backs. And I'll throw the Giants in there. Giants are a runaway.
Yeah, they just won 2 or 3 against the Reds.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20, 25 teams that you can say, you know what? All these teams can be 500 or better by August 15th. That's the game we play now. If you can be 500 August 15th, you got a shot. I mean, Diamondbacks won 84 games last year and went to the World Series. You just got to get into the party. Everybody's sitting outside the party. It's how do you get into the party? Do you know the bouncer? Can you go around the back gate? How am I getting into the party, Cody? That's what you need to know. Can I spliff somebody some money to get me in? Right? Is this a club? How do I get into the club? We're all out of the club. There's 30 people outside the club. We all got to get in. How do we get in? How do you get it? Once you get in, you're in the club, and you know what happens. Once you're in the club, anything can happen. A lot of nonsense and fun can happen once you're in the club. But that's where Houston is still, and I look at the tail of the tape. I was looking at the tail of the tape. Wow. The Astros score more runs per game, 4.45 versus the A's 3.98. Their batting average is way higher, 262 to 222. On bases higher, slugs higher, OPS is higher. They've got way more stolen bases. That's one thing we're not doing this year compared to last. Because last year, our numbers are off. As bad as the team was last year, offensively, the team was better last year. We're running a lot more. They've got 26 stolen bases. We only got 18. Now, where do the A's beat the Astros? It's pitching, and it's mainly bullpen. The A's bullpen is way better because if this series would have happened earlier, A's starting pitcher's ERA would have been way better because that's been the bugaboo. They've been hurt. They've got a bunch of hurt guys that are starting to come back. Christian Javier just came back this week. But now it's starting to even up a little bit. So the Astros starters are at 5.25 ERA. A's they're up to 5.03. Now this is for the season. Now I told you lately A starters are in the 8. So this is a fascinating thing. And one thing I wanted to get in, we don't what time we're at what, a 5:00 game?
Yeah, 5:10.
5:10. So we're on at what time?
We're on until about 4:20. 4:25.
4:25. Do we have a lot of time?
We got Blummer in about 7 minutes.
Because I think this is fascinating. And this really plays to the A's. And I found this in the notes for a complete. There's a couple really games that I want to get into today for people beyond just A's fans. You know, we cover all of baseball. I think Blue Jays Orioles starting this series right here is fascinating. This kind of, in a way, looking at the Orioles, maybe. I'm not going to say the last stand, but they better start playing better or all of a sudden they may start to move on from people.
Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Who did I say? I say
Orioles, yeah.
Well, maybe the Orioles are going to trade everybody. We'll take Oriole players. Blue Jays may be early sellers. Because right now, it's kind of a chic thing to do these days, right? Trade early. Luis Ariz, we need a contact guy. Go get Ariz now. Go get somebody now. Why wait to the deadline? I want this guy in June. I want him in July. I don't want to wait. So that is actually a really interesting series, and that's at Oriole Park. The other series that I think, and kind of the Mets, where are you? Because they're taking on the best team in baseball record-wise. That is who?
The Phillies.
The Fightin' Phillies. The Phillies are incredibly hot. They've won 25. They've won 20 of their last 25. It's their best 25-game stretch since 2010. Derek Barton, Jack Cust, where are you, 2010? They are unbeaten in their last 11 series. 8-0-3. That is awesome. Philly doesn't have a great bullpen. But what got me is this. And I thought about this, and we bring it back to the A's, as every good host always brings it back to himself and his team. The Phillies have scored a Major League Baseball high 41 runs in the first inning, or we'll say the first frame, batting first or second in the first inning. That they have a plus 70 run differential in innings 1 through 6. That's tied with who's got the monster offense?
I was going to say
the Dodgers.
Going to eliminate the Dodgers.
Just basically everything now you can go, hey, the Dodgers. Oh yeah, you're smart. So what the Phillies are doing, it's like a horse race. They're getting out in the race, and then you just don't have enough to catch them. What's the A's record when they score first?
They're 12-5.
Would you say that's a good record?
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
We don't really think about this much because baseball is a long, it used to be 3 hours and 4 minutes on average. We didn't think about scoring first. What does it matter? It's only the first inning. It's early in the game. Maybe it means a hell of a lot more than we think. And the great thing about baseball is if you really want to research it, there's years and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of games where you can get numbers. But right now, the Philadelphia Phillies, who do not have a good bullpen, their bullpen rates 22nd in baseball with a 4.52 ERA. But yet they have the best record in baseball because their bullpen isn't having to pitch the high leverage innings other people's bullpens have to. It works in the regular season. And you might say, well, does it work in the postseason? Well, the Phillies have been pretty damn good in the postseason. Their bullpen gets better in the postseason. But they've been a dangerous team. Ask the Atlanta Braves how dangerous the Phillies are in the postseason. But I kind of like it. They score early and often. When the A's score early, we're 12-5. That'd be interesting to ask Geoff Blum about that. Like, as a player, what does it mean to score first? What does it mean to get out to an early lead? Because clearly for the Phillies, a plus 70 run differential, innings 1 through 6, that's huge. It's like every game you're playing with a couple run lead.
Yeah, plus their top 3 starting pitchers, Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger Suarez has been great for them this year. Those 3 guys have done well, and then now they got Taijuan Walker back, so they're starting to get healthy. We already know what they can do on offense. So the bullpen's been an issue for them for years. But them getting ahead by runs like that, good luck trying to catch up when you're already down by that many runs going late into the game. Doesn't matter how bad your bullpen is if you already built a big lead.
You know what they're on pace for?
Like wins-wise, or 117?
111.
Oh.
111.
The Dodgers did that recently, right? It was a couple years ago. They had 111.
I mean, if you watch a lot of baseball, the Braves, everybody would have told you the Braves had already won the East. Alex Anthopoulos is the smartest GM in the world, blah, 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 blah. They got all these players. We now got StatCast is acting like they're reinventing that we need to swing hard. I mean, we got to get into that, by the way. The new Baseball Savant, StatCast, we're tracking bat speed. I think we've always known bat speed is a good thing. I think in any sport that you actually have a stick and an object, we know the harder and the better you strike it, right? I think we've known this in hockey for a long time. My one buddy, his kids are pretty good in lacrosse. I think if I can whip it as fast as I'm a golfer. They've been studying this stuff since the 80s with TrackMan, well before baseball, yes. Ever since John Daly in 1991 at Crooked Stick. You probably know, you were a little kid when John Daly won the PGA. Yeah. He was an alternate, got in, and all of a sudden he's swinging at the ball, taking the club all the way back and then crushing it, and he wins the PGA championship. Did we realize, you want to hit it hard. Yeah, we've known that for a long time. Thanks, StatCast. Great. Funny article today in The Athletic. Our guy, Eno Saris, we love him. And it's like, oh, my God. And you're like, bro, we've known this for – who had the shortest, fastest bat you've maybe ever seen? Shortest swing, fastest swing, made the best contact you've ever seen. And he's a good-sized guy.
I would probably go with Barry Bonds.
Barry Lamar Bonds. But the thing is, with bat speed, got to make contact. Anybody can swing it hard. but you got to be able to make contact. That's what separated Barry Lamar Bonds from everybody else. That quick stroke that he had, it was always about the knob of the bat. He and Tony Gwynn always talked about the knob of the bat. Bang! And that's why you couldn't get it by Bonds. Couldn't get it by him. And he'd stand right up on the plate. You remember that? He went Randy Johnson, because he faced Randy since their days in the they would have been Pac-10. Were you Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12? Bonds and
would they been the 8th?
So I think it would have been 10, right?
It would have been the 80s. So
I think they were Pac-10. They weren't the Pac-8. Because when I was a kid, it was still the Pac-10. It was really like 70s, I think it was Pac-8. But yeah, that's Barry Lamar Bonds. So that's Bonds. Mike Devereaux, who played in the big leagues for years, is playing with Bonds at Arizona State. They had a couple big leaguers. On USC's team, you've got Mark McGuire. You got the great Jack Del Rio.
I was going to say, don't forget Del Rio.
Who was a great Jack Del Rio was obviously used to be the head coach of the Raiders a long time. But Jack Del Rio was the MVP of the Rose Bowl as a linebacker. And Randy Johnson. Barry Bonds had been facing Randy Johnson since their days in college. And that was one of the greatest battles. When Randy Johnson's winning everything in Arizona, every award, and Bonds gets up there, and it was Bonds and Randy Johnson, and Bonds took him deep to center. Bonds stood right up on the plate and said, I don't care if you throw 100 miles an hour. What do you got? So I don't really need StatCast to tell me about bat speed, making contact, and having a short, quick swing. You know who they said back in the day had the best compact, short, powerful swing in the Pac-10?
I think you're leaning in towards our next guest.
Well, he was old enough to. He was Pac-10, right? He wasn't Pac-12.
Well, let's find out.
Well, no, you were Pac-10, right?
No, dude, 6-pack. Come on, man. I mean, I appreciate you thinking I'm a lot younger than I am, and I know this video camera has that filter on it to get, take like 10 years off. But dude, I was a part of the 6-pack.
It's 6-pack, yeah. I mean, that's hard to. People forget about, and that's why it's like so sad that we're not going to have the Pac-10 as we knew it, and Pac-12 is how historic for well over 100 years. All the great athletes. I mean. We think so much about football and basketball, but you think about all the Olympic athletes and all the great Olympians and all the gold medalists. Kind of such the sad thing about the Pac-10 going away. But how are you, my friend?
No, Conference of Champions is what they said, and I agree with you. It's kind of sad to see it devolving. And I've actually, before we get talking about the real stuff, I've got a group text chat from 1988 to 1992 Cal Bears, and we're talking about trying to have a little reunion tour and meet up, and it's like, let's go watch Cal play Auburn, or what about when Cal plays Rutgers? We're like, what? I mean, none of it makes any kind of sense, dude.
I'm doing the exact same thing because I haven't really announced it on the show yet, but since you're here, my kids, both my twins, got into Cal.
That's outstanding.
And we're very, very proud because we know how hard it is to get into. We know how hard it is to get one kid into Cal, to get two kids into Cal. And the funny thing, when it happened, they were so excited. And then I also said, all the other places you applied to, they don't matter anymore. And I told them, I said, listen, you get into Cal, you go to Cal because it's a degree. When I'm dead and gone, I know that you'll have this degree that's going to get you jobs, and people know when you go there, you're a competent human being. So I don't care if UC Santa Barbara's on the beach, you're going to Cal. Then my daughter, after one of these games that we had during the day, we drove up after the game in the traffic up 880, and I'm like, you really want to try out to be a cheerleader, huh? My one daughter is now going to be a Cal cheerleader.
I mean, you've won.
I mean, Blummer, it's unreal. So I'm like you. I'm starting to check the schedule, like, when do they play Clemson?
Yeah.
When do they play Florida State? Because that would be pretty cool. But how about that? Get two kids into Cal.
That's amazing. You should be congratulated for that. That's excellent parenting. If you ever have people doubt how good a parent you are, you tell them that you got two into Cal, and then that's game over. You won.
And then all my friends go, it's all because of your wife, who's a teacher and an educator. You baseball dummy, you had nothing to do with it. And then I go, yeah, I have to agree with that. First of all, how's life? How's the family? You're an empty nester now. How is everything?
It's been fantastic. You know, as much as I love my kids, not having them around the house is kind of nice. I get to wake up when I want. I get to, get my coffee and my boxers and not worry about who's going to turn the corner. And then I get to go to bed when I want. That was probably the biggest thing for me, man, is just being the father of 4 girls and making sure that, they're having a good time, but they're not having too good a time. And if they do, I got to be there ready, to evacuate. So I'm pretty happy with the fact that they're great kids. They've done a great job, and the triplets had their first year of college, and they got great grades, had a great time, and they're coming home for this summer. But yeah, it's been fantastic. We're in a very good place right now.
Outstanding. All right, Houston Astros. I'm not ready to bury them yet. The offensive numbers are too good. Where we are right now with the Houston Astros, just kind of give us an overview how you feel going into this 4-game set.
I think this is actually a big series for the Astros just because they're actually playing within their division and they're playing somebody who is ahead of them in the division. So, as well as I do, if you're going to climb back into your division, you got to beat teams in your division. And here's an opportunity now that they've kind of been scuffling a little bit. The road trip ended better than it started with, winning 2 out of 3 in Detroit. And they're starting to get a little bit of confidence. They're starting to get a little bit more momentum. But I think with that slow start for some of these guys out of spring training, they started to internalize a little bit and kind of protect their own and try and get their own numbers. And it hasn't been this team pushing forward. But I think after that road trip, getting beat around by the Yankees kind of shook them up a little bit. And beating a very good bullpen in Detroit kind of invigorated them a little bit. So hopefully they get something going. But as well as I do, these rivalries, if you want to call them, or these interdivision games, these are where you got to start pushing a little bit. But the frustrating thing for me is watching a rotation try and figure itself out, and then watching a back into the bullpen that's high value not be able to close out games, because a lot of these 1-run losses and blown saves, that's exactly where you can put some of these losses and why the Astros are where they're at right now.
Now, you changed the dynamic in the offseason of the bullpen and went out and spent a lot of money on Hader. Tell us what you've seen, Presley, Hader, and the back of the bullpen not getting it done.
Yeah, because, it's easy to go out there and say, yeah, I talked to Presley. I'm taking you out of the closing role, and we're going to put Hader back there. You're going to be my number 1 setup guy. You're going to go matchups. But as well as I do, these guys are human. They're egos. Presley's had so much success that, bringing in another closer might have rattled him a little bit. So I'll give him a little grace in the sense that he's trying to figure out this new role and being that setup guy and pitching in some tough spots. But that's where Joe Espada's in a tough spot, because this is what's been given to him. You get the lead, and they said Brian Abreu to Ryan Presley to Josh Hader, it's going to be lights out, and we're going to win so many ball games. It's going to be great. But we haven't seen that 1-2-3 punch too often late in games. So they're still trying to figure out where they're at. And I think we're finding out that there's not as much depth as they thought in that rotation. So they're waiting to get that rotation healthy again.
Speaking of the rotation, every single time Verlander takes the mound, he's an all-time great. And all-time greats, every single time they do something, it's adding to their legacy. Just yesterday, he was phenomenal in Detroit. Looking at his career numbers at Comerica, it's just, what's it like when you broadcast his games and you know that everything he's doing is history?
It's great. And, being on this side now, understanding that your voice is going to be over that, but it's so much fun to prep for those games, because you start to look at the legacy, 190 plus starts in one stadium, 19 years at the professional level. We put up numbers side by side. He spent 13 years in Detroit uniform, and it's amazing to think that this is now his 7th year in an Astros uniform, and how considerably better his numbers have been since becoming an Astro. So it's been a lot of fun to watch. But at the same time, when you start to fill out his score sheet and you start to fill out his line scores, just the legacy and how many times he's faced these guys is incredible. Then you wonder, is he going to be able to go out there and perform the way we've always seen him? And he has a game like he did against the Detroit Tigers where you're like, yeah, this guy's still pretty much got it. He doesn't really have that late life in the fastball that he had in the past where he could just blow the doors off people. But he's kind of evolved a little bit and become a very good pitcher with his slider, the occasional breaking ball early in counts. And then he did a great job of rushing that fastball up in the zone against Detroit to, get 7 or 8 strikeouts. But he's fun to watch. it's amazing to be around somebody that you know is going to be in the Hall of Fame eventually, and he's still pitching at a high level.
A tough question, but let's just say things don't turn around. Is Verlander somebody? And because to me, he's chasing 300 wins. That's the
100%.
quest, right? That's what he's going after. If you're Verlander, and even if you're the Astros, could he be traded to somebody, to a team that is winning, that helps him better on his quest? Is that something, if the Astros don't turn around, you could see?
Well, I mean, I got to preface all of this by saying I hope he stays here. I hope the Astros turn things around. But I think that considering how this start has gotten off for the Astros, I think that you do start to think, oh, my gosh, this is going to be the first October in 7 years that we don't see the Astros get into the playoffs. And that's kind of a hard thought to begin with already. And then you start to look around the organization, realize they don't have much depth in the minor leagues. Are there pieces? And we know that nationally, and you as well, and we think about it, we're like, what happens if we get to June or July and they're just not going to be able to turn this thing around? Is there value in a Justin Verlander? And I think if he continues to pitch at the level he's pitching at right now and can make some adjustments and prove that he can go 6-7 innings in a ball game, I think that his value he'd still have value in him right there. But it's also something you've got to recognize about the contract too, is that he has a vesting option. If he gets to 140 innings, you're going to pick him up for another year at $35 million. So there's a reasonable investment if you do pick up a guy like Justin Verlander because of that vesting contract. But I don't think that it would be out of the question to see him kind of maybe look at it, or have the Astros look at it if they can get a little bit of a return on that.
You mentioned the Astros being out of the playoffs potentially would be odd. Just talk about, there's a lot of different things going on. Management, the manager, just the changes that have happened within the Astros family, how that possibly has affected them.
The GM, bringing in Dana Brown after getting rid of James Click, who had a brief stint here with the Astros, I think that might be the most jarring, if there is anything jarring about it, just because, James Click wasn't as aggressive as I think the owner Jim Crane wanted him to be. He's a very analytic mind. He does great numbers. He does great work, and he can evaluate talent. He just wasn't as aggressive in making some of the personnel changes, I think, that were necessary here in Houston. You bring in Dana Brown, who has experience being a scout. He understands the evaluation of talent. And then he had a couple of great years in Atlanta where they were signing some very good young talent to extended contracts. So he's able to evaluate, put a number to these guys, and sign them. So I think that's what's interesting about Dana here, because you have guys like Alex Bregman, you have Framber Valdez, you have Kyle Tucker, young talent that you may want to keep around a little bit. So he's evaluating the on-field talent, what numbers match up with them. But I think having Joe Espada move from bench coach into the managerial spot has kind of been an easy transition. He was Dusty's right-hand man. He was A.J. Hinch's right-hand man. So you're getting the best of A.J., you're getting the best of Dusty, and then you're getting the best of Joe Espada. And I think that he's starting to get these guys moving in the right direction. But you're also seeing a certain style that the Astros, these guys in this clubhouse aren't accustomed to. The bottom two guys in this order, maybe even three guys, if they bring a left-hander, right-hander out of the bullpen, you better be ready to be pinched hit for. And if you're on the bench, you better be ready to get in the game in the 5th, 6th inning. So he's got a little more aggressive style as far as the managerial style, but these guys are adjusting to it, and they're kind of grateful for the at-bats they're getting. But they've got the batting average. They just need to start driving the ball out of the ballpark and getting those hits with runners in scoring position. We'll be talking about a different team.
I started this show out talking about we go to the winter meetings every year, and people think money equates to wins, money equates to success. We went down the top payrolls in baseball. We went to the bottom half, and you look at all these good teams, they're at the bottom half. I mean, you just look at the A's, where they are, where they rank in home runs. The A's are scoring the most runs per month. Obviously, this is a far different A's team than you saw last year. But, I mean, you can go up and down. You just saw Detroit. You're talking about the Nationals. You're talking about Minnesota. I mean, the Rays always, you can't equate money with wins. We try and do that in baseball, but it's not how it works.
No, I completely agree. And the Dodgers are a great example. The Yankees in the early 2000s would just go out and sign monster free agents and get knocked out in the first round. It's got to be incredibly frustrating when you're writing checks the size that the Dodgers are writing and they've been knocked out in the first round. So I agree with you in that sense, and it's great to see some of these teams, but you want to start to see like the Minnesotas, the Tampa Bay Rays are a great example of being able to get deep in playoffs and be World Series contenders with a modest payroll. But that's one of the things that kind of made the Astros very interesting and maybe put a target on their back a little bit is the fact that when they started this run back in 2017, they drafted, they developed, they sprinkled in some veterans, had a reasonably high payroll in consideration against a Minnesota or a Tampa Bay, but at the same time, it wasn't in that upper echelon of the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, and some of these other ball clubs, and they went out and won a World Series. So it's kind of shifted a little bit here where we have been paying a lot, and the payroll is quite high. So I think that's why there's a little more scrutiny on the Astros because the payroll doesn't match the record like you're talking about.
Let's end on this. We got the StatCast numbers coming out, and now all of a sudden, bat speed. Well, we've always known any kind of sport you play, you want to, whether you're hitting a hockey puck, you're hitting a golf ball, you're hitting a baseball, speed is king, but also the quality of the contact.
Yeah.
If you don't have quality of contact, your speed's not going to matter. When you look back at when you were playing, working on your bat speed, but also working on your contact, take us through that because now everybody's just thinking, how fast do you swing the bat? There's more to it than that.
Yeah, and I'm going to quote Dusty Baker here because I talked to Dusty about this when he came over to the Astros, and it was kind of funny because I played against all the Dusty teams there were, the Giants to the Cincinnati Reds to the Chicago Cubs, and then when I finally get him as a manager here that I can get my ears on, and I'm like, all these analytics, I go, have you adapted to some of the numbers that are coming out? And he goes, Blummer, I adjusted these numbers when I was a kid hitting behind Aaron because the only thing that has changed is the verbiage. So this idea of bat speed was how quickly can I get to the baseball? How far through the baseball can I stay to create some of that backspin and get length on it to hit those home runs? And I thought that was really fascinating because we have been talking about it, but now you can actually put the data to it. You've got a number to it. Instead of sitting there and going, wow, the ball sounds different off this guy's bat because he's so much quicker through the zone. I think it's interesting. I think it tells a good story, but I'm kind of with you in the sense that you've got to be able to go out there and ignore the numbers sometimes and physically try and have those numbers relate because I can have all the numbers in the world. They're not going to swing the bat for me. I still have to go out there and figure out how quickly I can get to contact. And that was always my idea. And that's what I was taught as a big leaguer was, these guys are throwing as hard as they possibly can. They're going to have crazy movement. How quickly can I be ready to fire the bat through the zone? And how quickly can I get to the ball? Because if I'm not quick to that baseball, I'm going to get blown up. It's going to be off the end of the bat. I'm going to get flare outs, and I'm not going to hit the ball hard. But I think you bring up a great point is if you're at this level, you can create the bat speed. The thing you need to do here is get the barrel to it. So if you can combine those barrel rates with the bat speed, then you're going to be doing some damage. And that's exactly what the A's have been doing. I think it's kind of fun to see that you guys have been driving the baseball out of the ballpark, and those barrel rates and those high bat speeds kind of correlate and make sense when you see those balls flying out of the ballpark. It's kind of fun to watch in that sense. And it makes my job a little more fun because I can say, I think he hit that ball really hard. He looked good getting to contact. And now all of a sudden I've got the data to back it up.
All right, later this year, we should look at the schedule and have you back out to the Bay Area. I know Bob Melvin. I'm gonna meet up with him for some football games. Have you come out and let's do a football game later this year, a little Cal football.
Could you imagine? That would be outstanding. I would 100% be down with that just to hang out with you, Towny, but then to watch some Cal football on top of it, that would be nice.
And we'll get Robert Melvin with us, the Giant skipper. It'll be fantastic.
Yep, I'm down for that for sure.
All right, buddy, be well. I'm just looking. You'll be heading back to Chicago in mid-June. I know that's always a big trip for you. Go out and see your statue. That'll be awesome. We'll talk soon. You be well. Congratulations on all the success.
No, thank you, and congratulations to your kids, too, for getting into Cal. Roll on.
Thanks, buddy. The great Geoff Blum, the Blummer. Cal Bear, Cal World Series. Not only is he a baseball World Series hero, he was with the Cal Bears in the College World Series. That's right. I'm now a Cal guy. I hate Cal. Not anymore. I'm an investor in the University of California, Berkeley.
But no, that's really cool. And I'm trying to see this trio of you, Blummer, and Bob Melvin hanging out.
I've already talked to Bo Mel. Bo Mel's,
you guys out on the sidelines, or
Bo Mel has known my kids since they were little girls. So when we started going through this process, I contacted Bob, and he was excited, and then he was super excited, like Blummer is when I told him that they got into Cal. And so, Bob Melvin and I will head over to Old Memorial Stadium. I'll take in some Cal football games with my friend Robert Melvin.
That sounds fun. I'll be watching. Well, they used to be your Spartans, but
I'll still be there. Bob Melvin says I might get my basketball tickets back. I'm like, yeah, you need to get those floor seats back. So I can use them.
Not to go off on Cal basketball. Apparently, they've had a really good transfer portal and everything. People keep talking about that. I've read on the internet how well that Mark Matson's done bringing the guys in to come play Cal. Maybe Cal basketball's turning it around.
Haas Pavilion.
They were bad the last couple of years. Maybe this year they finally are starting getting good again. I mean, I don't know if Jason Kidd's walking through those doors or Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Oh, wow. Why not?
Jalen Brown.
Why not?
I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't, no.
I do find, so I read the article in The Athletic, and I do find it like everybody is like, oh, wow, it's like, wait a minute. It is great information when used correctly, right? Because I start looking at this list when we said the average bat speed leaders in 2024. And the guy who's number one, so we're sitting in my backyard before the show, and the guy who's number one, and I laughed, and it's like I'm not here to debunk it. We all know, and we've all been taught, and we all know it doesn't matter the sport. It doesn't matter if it's baseball, if it's golf, if it's hockey. Whenever you have a stick that's connecting with an object, you want to hit it as hard and as square as you possibly can, right? In golf, I think everybody will get this. If you have a golf hole that has no trouble and you can I'm going to air this thing out and I'm going to launch this thing. That's far different than when you step on a golf hole that's surrounded by trees and trouble everywhere. Now you're not going to do that. Now pure precision is king, because you get a little squirrely, you're in the trees, you're now making double, triple bogey. You need what's called a fairway finder, right? Wayne Gretzky didn't have the hardest slap shot, but yet he scored a bazillion goals and had a bazillion assists. I brought up to Cody before the show, Al Iafrate, for all you old Sharks fans. Al had one for his time coming over. He could never stay healthy, but coming over from the Bruins, he had one of the hardest slap shots at that time in the history of the NHL. So what year was Al a Shark?
I'd have to go back and look.
They've been tracking how hard we hit things for a long, long time. This is not anything new here.
I don't even know how to spell his last name.
A-L-A Frady.
Oh, right here.
Iafrate. Yeah, okay. What year was he a Shark?
He was a Shark in 1996 was his first year as a Shark.
1996 Shark. Yeah, because that was like the start of my career. Everybody's talking about how hard he hits it. I mean, so we've been doing this for the longest time, and he hit it harder than anybody, but yet he wasn't a great goal scorer. He could hit it harder than anybody else. It takes me back to Giancarlo Stanton. And Giancarlo Stanton, I was reading this offseason. It was actually, I was doing my walk at night, and I listened to podcasts, and I read stuff. And it was Giancarlo Stanton who I was very impressed by. Him looking in the mirror and saying, I got a problem. And my problem is I'm not making a lot of contact. And he said, if you look at all my numbers, I hit the ball hard. I just don't hit it hard enough. That's what he said this offseason. And I remember, I think I sent that stuff to you because I thought it was a real in-depth thing of him going, you know what? I'm doing everything I can. I work out. I'm strong. My numbers aren't great. But yet, these other numbers are. And here we are again. Average bat speed leaders for 2024. Your leader is who?
Giancarlo Stanton.
Giancarlo, don't call me Mike Stanton. at 80.6 miles per hour. That's impressive. But then you look at the numbers and you go, he's hitting 230. He's got 8 home runs. And then I told Cody, I say, I'll break that down even further to show you how ridiculous that is, because some of those home runs, I've seen them, and they're cheapy Yankee Stadium home runs. The guy with the best bat speed in baseball. And by the way, the lowest bat speed among the 220 hitters is Luis Ariz, the guy that does nothing but hit.
Yeah.
So the guy who's number one, 80.6, is Giancarlo. The guy who's the lowest, Luis Ariz, at 62.4. Away from Yankee Stadium. Is this a guy you really want on your team away from Yankee Stadium? A guy who's hitting 227 with a 686 OPS, under 700. If you're under 700 OPS, you are not. Ideally, Eric Burns has done a great thing. I was watching Burnsy on his podcast with Will Clark. David Forrest years ago went to Burns and said, Burns, you want your OPS to be 800. That's where you want to be. That's all-star level, 800. Like David Forrest was talking about this with Eric Burns in the early 2000s, right? You're a 686 on the road. That's terrible. You're a 227 hitter. You've got 3 home runs, and you're hitting 227 with a 686 OPS on the road. That's the guy's numbers who's got the best bat speed in baseball. Does that impress you?
I told you I'm not, like, when they put this list out, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I want to see what it looks at. And I'm looking at, they're talking about the guys with the best bat speed. And I started looking through the list, and the first thing I said to you, I'm like, look at a lot of those guys. What's one thing they all have in common? None of them really hit for average.
None of them really hit.
Like, I look like, okay, so number 3 on the list is Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber's hitting 217 with 9 home runs this year. Okay. Number 2 is O'Neal Cruz. He's only hitting the ball better recently. He was struggling mightily before. Number 4 is an interesting case, and we know him pretty well. That's Matt Chapman, whose bat speed is 76.9 miles per hour. How's he doing this year?
Okay, let's take Matt Chapman. And this is something that I've been talking a lot about, and I actually brought it to the TV a little bit. I don't know how it translated, because I don't think this is something that Stu or Bip or Shooty would bring. But we're in an era right now where runs are hard to come by. If you go look at the late 90s, early 2000s, offense was exploding. It's the steroid era, right? Every guy looks like a defensive lineman. It's scary. These guys are up at the plate. People are hitting home runs like you would not believe. Like the other day, you go back and look at the Colorado Rockies numbers, the Blake Street Bombers, where you got Larry Walker, Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga. These guys are hitting 40-plus home runs, all hitting over 300.
Was Vinny Castilla there too?
Vinny Castilla's got huge numbers. Ellis Burks is a great guy. Ellis Burks. They've got mash. Todd Helton's coming up. I mean, they've got mashers. You go around baseball, people are hitting. I mean, do you remember Manny Ramirez's numbers?
Yes.
We're talking about players who are hitting 330 with 40, 50 home runs. Pitchers are like scared to throw strikes. So, yes, everybody's walking. That's why the whole Moneyball thing's a fraud, because before Michael Lewis, Billy Beane figured out you want to get people. People were in 1999, we had like 6-7 teams walk over 700 times. We had like 14 teams walk over 600 times. Last year, we only had 2 teams that walked over 600 times. Only 2 teams. 1999, everybody was walking. 2000, everybody's walking. Michael Lewis hasn't even started writing the book yet, and everybody's walking. So by
the way, I had to bring it up to my care. I just looked at the 97 Rockies. Galarraga, 41 homers. Vinny Castilla.
What's his batting average?
318.
318 with 41 dingers.
Vinny Castilla, 40 home runs, a 304 batting average. Larry Walker, 49 home runs, a 366 batting average. And then Dante Bichette was struggling a little bit. He only had 26 homers, but he had 308. And then Ellis Burks, 32 home runs, .290 batting average.
Larry Walker had 49 home runs and hit 360. This late 90s, early 2000s, steroids, or I'm not accusing anybody, but I'm just saying a lot of them are doing it. And it was scary. And even if the pitchers were on it themselves, like it's more of, I believe, a level, and I covered baseball during that time. That was the start of my career, the mid 90s into 2000s. It was a level playing field. But whatever, you still got to pitch to these monsters, right? And it was scary to pitch to them. And back then, we don't even know what the ball was like, right? Like, we now know the ball in 18 into 19 was a wound type baseball. We have no idea what the ball was like then during the steroid era. We knew parks were getting smaller and the players were getting bigger, right? And everybody's hitting jacks. So, yeah, it was scarier than hell to pitch. So we walked everybody and guys are hitting. I mean, when's the last time you saw someone hit 330 and have 50 home runs? That should tell you something.
Like, geez, even when Judge hit 62, his average wasn't even that high, was it? It was.
I say he hit around 300, if he low 300.
Judge Erie at 62 was a couple years. That was 2022. It was close. Yeah, he hit 311.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't find that anymore. So we have less walks going on. So right now we're in an era of less walks, harder to score. And that's why when you saw Juan Soto go to San Diego, people are like, that's great. He's walking. I'd rather see him swinging. You got to hit to score. You got to slug to score. That's why it's like slug and pitching. Can you slug and can you pitch? It's great to walk if you can do it, but you got to hit guys in. You got to slug and you got to pitch. That's the era we're in. Slug is really important. And it's why the A's are afloat right now, because they can hit home runs. And they were pitching, and that's why they won games. They could hit. Because if you're not going up there to hit, if you're going up there to walk, if everybody's looking, because to slug, you got to be ready to hit. You got to go up there with a mind, I'm going up to do, Mark Canna, I'm going up to do some damage. If you're going, I'm going to wait to get my pitch. I'm going to wait for that perfect pitch. That era, if you're playing that kind of baseball, you end up back in AAA like Ryan Noda. You better be ready to go up and do some damage. But with these bat speeds, you got to make good contact. You've got to be able to know where your barrel is, and you got to have barrel control, and you got to be able to square it up. Otherwise, you're Giancarlo Stanton, you're Matt Chapman. My God, Matt Chapman. Let's see here. Matt Chapman. Let me give you an idea of Matt Chapman's season right now. Matt Chapman for the season, because Matt Chapman is 1, 2, 3. He's fourth in bat speed at 76.9. And Matt Chapman's batting average right now is 213 with an OPS of 609. He is a OPS plus. Do your disclaimer.
100 is league average.
100. Matt Chapman is at 78. Matt Chapman is playing from an OPS plus standpoint at a below major league average. You ready? Let's do the breakdowns, home and away. Matt Chapman on the road. Matt Chapman, first of all, at home, has 1 home run and hitting .222 with a .569 OPS.
He had a grand slam the other day. That's the home run.
He's got a .569 OPS at home. SOPS plus, OPS for split relative to league split, OPS plus, so league average. He's a 61.
100 is league average.
100? So you got guys, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s on this list. I can go through. You want me to go through his rough year? I was looking at Acuna. I wasn't even planning on getting into all this until this popped up today. Ronald Acuna Jr. has just 3 hits in his last 24 at-bats. He's hitting .252, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs through 37 games. This exact same time last year, he was hitting .347 with 7 home runs and 22 RBIs.
There's
Think about that. But yet, we're going to sit here today and put this list out, and I know people are going to be infatuated by it. I'm going to, here, just talk real quick. I'm going to do this.
Well, I was going to say, there's another guy on here that's struggling who had a good year last year. Number 9 on the list at 76.2 miles per hour is Julio Rodriguez, who has only 2 home runs. He hit a second home run of the year against the A's over the weekend.
He's been
struggling. I mean, Joe Adell's having he's I can't really throw him at. The only guy on here that's actually having a decent year is Juan Soto.
Whoa.
Well, he hasn't got enough. When you look at all these guys year by year, these guys have been, like, Chapman's been struggling for years.
You just glossed over my hot take.
What?
Joe Adell.
Oh, yeah, true, yes.
You're glossing over my hot take when I wowed you and Johnny about Joe Adell basically replacing
Trouty?
Shohei Ohtani's numbers with
the
the Angels. And so far, my hot take is right.
Yeah, the Angels aren't very good either. But
that wasn't the hot take.
Yeah.
The hot take was Ohtani's gone, and you guaranteed him all that money, and Joe Adell's popped in and replacing the numbers and giving you defense, even though his defense is not great. But Ohtani didn't play defense. Yeah, Joe Adell's kind of replaced Shohei Ohtani for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I was going down the list while you're looking. The closest, the first A to appear on the list is at number 33, and it's Lawrence Butler. It's 74.5. And then next at 48, Brent Rooker is 73.8.
And you're like, let's just look at Butler's number. But get back to Acuna, right? Because he obviously is a supreme talent.
MVP last year in National League.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 5th in bat speed, according to StatCast, at average 76.7. Last year at this time, his OPS was 1,014. But this year, he's 5th in bat speed, and his OPS is 714. That's a drop of 300 points in OPS. He's not even close to the same player. So, and then in this article, it tells you that when they look at Stuff Plus, which is the best stuff in baseball for pitchers, that bat speed is not something you really want to see. That now comes more back to contact. How much do you barrel the ball? Can you put the barrel on the ball? Because just bat speed, you're striking out. So it really is it is a conversation of having a short, compact, speedy bat that makes solid contact. Long swings will be exploited and are death. We've always known that. Long swing. I can tell you as a pitcher, the minute you see a guy with a long swing, you bust his ass inside because he's not going to be at long swings, bad. Short, compact, quick swings, the contact is what you want. Now, what don't you see? Short, quick, compact swing. Giancarlo Stanton, short, quick, compact swing. Matt Chapman is not a short, quick. Matt Chapman takes a big hack, and because of that, his numbers are terrible. So it's like, what are we selling here? I wonder, like, what are we selling? Yes, you want to have a quick bat. Yes, but you got to make good contact. And too many of these guys are not making good contact. Some of them are. Some of them aren't.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway from reading all of it is because, like, just like we did when we looked at it for pitching with velocity and all that, everyone's trying to chase down velocity and all. And what do we keep seeing? UCL injuries and injuries. Well, now they're saying that if you do this, it could see a rise in oblique injuries. And our good friend Lance Brozdowski put this out. This is a quote from Tristan Casas from the Red Sox.
By the way, did you see the picture of him standing in the on deck spot? They said he was standing there for like 10 minutes. He was just standing there. They took the net, the hitting cage away, and because he can't play, right? And he was, I guess, comparing. I guess, do you have that?
Yeah.
So I don't want to step on that, but this poor kid who was like a breakout last year with the Boston Red Sox, there was just a video of him standing there for like 10 minutes, just standing in the batter's box because he can't play. Sad.
So Lance is saying this is a quote. This is from Ian Osiris's article, but he's talking about rib and obliques are the new UCLs or hitters. I hope not. Like, that's what he's implying. But here's the quote. from Tristan. The doctor pretty much chalked it up to me being so big, rotating so fast, so many times that I created a car crash within my body. It was a matter of time before this happened. He said it was something similar to like a pitcher needing Tommy John, just an inevitable thing that was going to happen sooner or later. That's what these guys trying to, the stress implications from training hitters is that swing so fast.
I'm going to defend our brethren at like Driveline here. Okay. And I'm going to defend all the swing coaches in golf. I'm going to defend all that. I don't teach hockey. I've never played hockey. I go to Sharks games, or I used to go to Sharks games, not until they win.
You're going back now because I got the first pick.
We are always going to train our athletes to do it at the highest level. We are always going to do that. And the reality is, I think there's a different, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I think there's a far different than what we're doing with pitchers here. But when we're talking about sprinters, we're talking about race cars, we're talking about golfers, we're talking about hitters, we're talking about hitting a hockey puck, hitting a golf ball, hitting tennis. You look at, I remember covering the old Sybase Open at the Shark Tank here. We used to have that tennis open. Do you remember that? And Mark Philippoussis was one of the big servers, and he was hitting at like 130 or whatever it was. And Sampras is here. Hitting things harder and being more efficient, we're always going to do that. And by the way, human beings are going to get hurt. We're going to get hurt. Everybody gets hurt. When you play sports and you play long enough, you're going to get injured. That's part of the deal. There's no way that we're ever going to teach people to do stuff to not get hurt. So we can't. So saying that, I'm not necessarily buying Casas saying that, well, I was swinging the way I was swinging, I was going to be like a Tommy John. Guys get hurt. You play football, guess what? You're going to get hurt. You play basketball, you play baseball, you play hockey, you're going to lose teeth. There's no way for us to prevent you from losing teeth when you play hockey. Has anybody ever had a long career and never lost a tooth playing hockey?
I'd have to Google that one.
Probably, but I mean, you're going to lose teeth. It's like,
let's ask Brent Burns. He still doesn't have them.
There's risk in playing professional sports. There was risk in playing youth sports. My best friends, their son Marco broke his hand playing high school football, and everybody was freaking out. And I said, "It's football. You're going to get hurt." What? I'm like, and you know what? Good news. It's a broken bone. That's good because broken bones heal. Dr. Warren King, the orthopedic surgeon for the Raiders, told me that one time. He goes, the good news is it's a broken bone. It will heal. It's the other stuff when you start ripping ligaments, tendons, and stuff like that. But if it's a broken bone, bones will heal. You're gonna, what's his name? Jung-Hoo Lee yesterday. You're an outfielder. You go out and reach for it. Your shoulder's in a weird position. You dislocate your shoulder. You're going to get hurt playing sports. It's just, that's part of the deal. So we can't flip out about that. Now, training guys the way we are clearly hurting pitchers. That to me is a whole different deal. Just going out and playing the sport and getting hurt. You slide into second base, you hurt your knee, right? You jump into the wall in the outfield, you hurt your shoulder. You're going to swing the bat, and there's going to be times, Brandon McCarthy, Chris Bassett, line drive back up the box, get hit in the head. I mean, playing the sport, there are dangers to playing sports. We can't take that away. We can't bubble wrap everybody during games. It's not possible. My whole thing about this is the let's not look at this list and say how fast your bat is equates to you being successful. Some guys, like on this list, Juan Soto, very successful this career.
Yeah.
This Morel for the Cubbies.
Yeah, he swings hard, and
he's having a fantastic year.
Yeah.
He got back he was hurt, and he got back. Look at his. I have his numbers actually here for you. I don't need you. His numbers. He's been swinging a red hot. Who are they playing? Since he got back, he has 6 home runs, 15 RBIs in his last 13 games, and he's on pace for 36 home runs and 107 RBIs. Is that any good? By the way, your guy Cody Bellinger,
where's he at on this list?
Are you ready to apologize?
For everyone saying he doesn't swing hard enough?
Are you ready to apologize?
What's his exit velocity?
Because you and your buddy, your Lance, what's Lance?
Brozdowski, yeah.
You guys, if anybody remembers this being at the winter meetings in Nashville, all the Cubs people were ready for Cody Bellinger to sign, but they wouldn't sign him. Everybody was talking about Cody Bellinger's bat speed. Doesn't have enough bat speed.
Where's he at on this list, by the way? Let's see.
Where is Belly?
Bellinger. Give me a second. If I'm still scrolling, Seth Brown's on here. I mean, I don't mean to just throw Brownie out there like that, but
wow,
he's on the list. Here, let's do it this way. Bellinger. Bellinger is 160th on the list. It's 70.3. He's actually tied with Freddie Freeman.
Cody Bellinger has at least one RBI in 10 of the last 11 games. Cody Bellinger's batting .356 with a 1,186 OPS, 5 home runs, and 11 RBIs during this stretch of the last 11 games. I don't know about you, but he's playing like Brent Rooker. .356, 1,186 OPS, and 11 RBIs, 5 home runs in the last 11 games. Tell me what his bat speed is.
70.3. Oh, hey, hold on.
What's Rooker's, by the way?
73. It was 73.8 or something.
Where does he rank? Because Brent Rooker is playing like a man possessed.
He was 48th in the league. Behind he's second on the ace, 73.8.
He's 48th.
Yeah. Bellinger's average exit velocity 89. But he's still hitting.
Do you want his numbers?
I mean, he's having I take him. I never liked that. He doesn't hit the ball hard enough. I mean,
that's ridiculous. Brent Rooker in May. Got to add this up here. 5, 9, 2. Oh, my God. Brent Rooker in May is hitting .447. Brent Rooker might be one of the best examples, and because Brent Rooker is somebody we cover and we see every day, Brent Rooker might be one of the best examples of what I'm talking about. In the 3 true outcome game, which that was Brent Rooker last year, Brent Rooker wasn't a great player. Brent Rooker got to the All-Star game because he had a hot start, and everybody saw him on MLB Network, and the players voted him in because they were seeing him on TV constantly in the clubhouse. Because the last 2 months before the All-Star break, Brent Rooker both months hit under 200. He was not that productive. And then he got it back at the end. Brent Rooker is like a different human being in a uniform right now. And he's the great example of you're a 3 true outcome player versus a guy who's making great contact and becoming a legit hitter. 3 true outcome guy versus legit hitter. In an era, once again, where it's hard to score runs and hitting, quality hitting is far more important than the 3 true outcome guy. 447 with a 1444 OPS, 1,444 OPS. And it's not all because of home runs. Brent Rooker is hitting. He's hit the other day, 2 games ago, he flared it into right field. He's getting hits there's his flare to right field on his hit chart. He's hitting everywhere this year. He's hitting. He's hitting dingers. He's hitting doubles. He's getting base hits, and his numbers have just soared. Brent Rooker can hit 5 home runs and watch his slug go up. Brent Rooker can watch the OPS go up because of that. But Brent Rooker becomes a different player because that thing that you all said didn't matter vaults him up, and that's that 447 batting average. Game of math. It's a game of math. The more math you put into the equation, the higher it goes. They all go. They all start adding up. If Brent Rooker just had those five home runs and a bunch of strikeouts, would his OPS be 1444?
No.
Would his slug be 921?
No, that's crazy.
But they convinced you, Cody, because when we started doing the show together, you told me batting average didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I still have that feeling.
But the batting average shows you his batting average got him to those numbers you like.
Yeah, you can't raise your slugging and all that without putting a ball in play. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple. It's simple math.
That's good. Yeah. Everyone was so obsessed with the on-base percentage then. Now we're looking at it, we're like, oh, slugging is the number you should be looking at.
Because bases are coming down. And now that is the thing Bill James has been talking about, is that, that is something that's the inefficiency in the market now, is guys who make contact on a consistent basis. And why it excites me about Jacob Wilson. We may have a guy who makes contact on a consistent basis. Brent Rooker right now is making contact on a consistent basis. I don't know how. Let's look at Brent Rooker. I'm going to go to last year. I know we haven't had a break yet, but I'm going to go to last year. If you still think batting average doesn't matter, let's look at Brent Rooker last year at this time versus where he is right now. Do you think his numbers are even close?
He had a hot start, right?
He had the hot start. Well, actually, this is his hot start, wasn't it? Was it through May?
Yeah, it was right before May because he.
Let's see. Let's see where he was at this time.
All right, let's go.
Let's see.
2023. I think they might lump March and April together because there was such a short span. Yeah, in April/March, he hit 9 home runs.
Okay,
and then in May he hit 2 home runs and had 10.
Wait. What was his in May? What was his OPS?
1,245.
No, that's April/March.
Oh yeah. Oh, are you saying in May?
I said May.
Yeah, May.
Did I say May? I think I said May.
616.
You want to say that again?
It was 616.
How much is 616?
That's below 800.
Do you want me to give you what his OPS is now? What was he hitting then?
In May, 198.
Huh. So in May last year, he hit 198 with a 616 OPS. In May now, he's hitting 447, and he's got a 1,444 OPS, over double.
Correct.
You want to tell me average doesn't matter?
I'm always going to feel how I feel. But
I want you to prove it to me. I want you to prove it to me. Stop telling me someone else's opinion because you grew up in an area where people drilled you on what to think. I'm proving to you with math how it works.
I get it.
I want you to prove to me how batting average doesn't matter, how it doesn't help your numbers. Because I'm looking at the same guy. You want to go to June? Brent Rooker hit 191 in June with a 620 OPS. I got Brent Rooker hitting 447. He still hit home run. Brent Rooker's numbers are not all about home runs. It's because he's hitting for average and he's hitting extra base hits. I can't have an average like when you say, well, he's got extra base hits. Yeah, but I can't have an average unless I hit.
Correct, yes.
And I can't have extra base hits unless I hit.
Also true.
So prove to me how it doesn't work.
Oh, there's really not. I mean, like a good example is his last month before September and October, he hit 8 home runs and he had 4 doubles, so 12 extra base hits. He hit 259, but his OPS was 946.
So he improved from those months. He's improving his batting average by almost 70 points. His batting average since the Yankees series. My God, Brent Rooker's what's Brent Rooker's average right now?
Is it 292? I think
292. Do you realize?
Nope, I shortchanged him. 293.
Okay. I'm sweating now because it upsets me so much. It's because you know why this is sad? I'm not a math guy. I hate math, and yet I'm having to prove to you bozos how much math matters. Do you know what Brent Rooker's batting average was after the Yankee series, after the last game of the Yankee series?
Was it like 176 or something?
It was 176. Brent Rooker was 0 for 4, 176. That was on May. Not May.
April.
That was April.
Like
last game,
25th
April
6th.
25th. We're what? May what?
Today's May 13th.
In that short a time, he's now hitting 294?
93.
293?
Yeah.
He went from 176 to 293. That's over 100 points, Cody.
Yeah, I get it.
That's over 100 points. So all this math has added to, you claim all you care about was OPS, right? OPS plus. All that math led to the OPS plus. You can't get OPS plus unless the other math gets you there, unless I'm completely wrong.
No, you're not.
So how can it not matter?
Because there can be guys that hit 250 but have a good on base, and that helps raise up your OPS also. There's always going to be outliers to it. A good example, a guy that just announced his retirement is Chris Davis. He hit 247 how many years in a row, but what was his OPS? Well, I guess I'd have to look. I should have done that before I brought it up. But Chris Davis, let's just use the year he hit 48 home runs in 2018.
Go to his best years. Okay, that's fine. Go to his best years.
The year he hit 48 home runs, he hit 247. His OPS was 874.
3 years. What were all the other years?
The next year he hit 23 home runs in 19, 679.
Bye-bye.
Well, he also only hit 220 that year.
Oh, see how the math works? You don't hit. All you hit is home runs, and your math goes like this.
3 true outcomes. The walks are going to help.
It's so simple that I like listen to Brian Kinney, and everybody thinks they're so smart, and you go, well, your math doesn't. Your math doesn't add up. Your math doesn't add up. So you go to like Chris Davis' best year. That was 3 years of a career. The rest of the time of those 3 years, numbers are terrible. And then you throw when he doesn't play defense, and he can't throw, and he can't run.
Whoa. That has nothing to do with OPS.
Well, I'm throwing that on.
Oh, yeah.
And the part that is OPS sucked other than 3 years.
I mean, Giancarlo Stanton's a good example, too. He doesn't really have a lot of average.
I mean, it just goes to show, like, look at Brent Rooker now, and now he's playing at an all-world level. But if Brent Rooker finishes the season, let's just say like at 260 with home runs, I mean, his numbers will all be way better than if he hits 210.
Yeah,
220. You guys have made 220 acceptable. Like Matt Chapman's a good player, and you're like looking at Matt Chapman's numbers, going, those are terrible.
Yeah, Rooker ended up hitting 246 last year. What he ended up finishing at 30 home runs and 20 doubles, so 50, and in triples, so he had 51 extra base hits. His OPS was 817, still above the 800 that David Force told Eric Burns about.
Brent Rooker's numbers were basically a couple months. It was distorted.
It was beginning and the end.
Brent Rooker right now is basically a complete hitter. He's not striking out. He's making great contact. It's so much fun to watch. This is what a good hitter looks like. And that's why I'm proud of him. I'm like, well, like the adjustments, I don't know. Like Mark Kotze said he's made adjustments with Darren Bush, whatever those adjustments are. My God, keep doing them. But I don't know how you would rather watch someone else be a 3 true outcome guy than watch a player like this. I just don't know. I mean, you went through those Rockies numbers, and I know it was the steroid era, but you got guys hitting 340 bombs. You made it acceptable to hit 220, but you walked. And once again, what we've proven pretty much, you got a bunch of these guys who walked, but they never scored.
Juan Soto.
They couldn't score.
Jack Cust.
So it's like, oh my God. I mean, it's like their numbers had no context. And I think I love putting context to numbers. And then once you're able to do that, you're able to prove like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that guy's OPS isn't as great as you think it is because he hit some home runs and he walked, but yet he didn't really generate a lot of runs.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say with Rooker too, I could use the old double. He needs to walk more. He only has 14 walks. He needs to walk more.
Slow guys walking. I don't understand how slow guys walking is.
I got to look at his base run. His base runner, the one that BK always uses. Base runner, like how good he is at base running, scoring runs or whatever. Where Rooker's at in that. But other than that, yeah, he's been on fire, and it's been fun to watch. I mean, Abraham Toro's been hitting really well too. He doesn't have the home runs, and
Toro's been the best A's player.
Yeah, he's like 8th.
If he had an MVP right now, Toro's been the A's best player.
Yeah, he's 8th. I think he's 8th best batting average in the American League right now.
He's played second. He's played third. He's played first. He's played outfield. Abraham Toro's been the A's best player. Hey, is Max Schumann, if he starts to hit This is Jacob Wilson's job. No offense to Max Muncy down there. I know he's battling. You watch. Max Muncy's going to start playing different positions. I don't know how.
He already started.
I don't know how. I mean, Jacob Wilson, this is Jacob Wilson's spot. But right now, Max Schumann, as much as we talked about Hernandez, we talked about Allen, Max Schumann right now, and I know this is small sample size, but Max Schumann, if he keeps hitting, Max Schumann, isn't he your third baseman? I mean, he's your shortstop? Well, right now, he's your only shortstop on the roster.
Yeah, I was going to say right now.
Which scares the hell out of me, by the way.
Yeah.
If he goes, can you check? All right, we're getting to Bill Moriarty.
Yeah.
Can you check during the break how many times Brett Harris has played shortstop as a professional?
Yes, I can.
Because he hasn't played at the big league level, obviously. So the reason why I asked this question for A's fans is Max Schumann's the only guy on the roster. There's 26 guys. The only guy on the roster, except, as you always point out very astutely,
Esty. He's played short in minors.
That's right.
Not everyone's
Ruiz has played short. But do you like the new Lynch Soul shirt?
I do. I love the color when I came in. I'm looking right now. I will tell you how many games.
All right, we're going to find out next how many times Brett Harris has played. Okay, knock on wood, nothing happens to old Shoe. But if Shoe needs a break, I mean, this is a long stretch of games. What happens if Shoe needs hey, Skip, I'm a little beat up.
Yeah, and what are
you going to do?
We have 7 more until the next off day, Monday, right? Next Monday's the off day, so it's 4 in Houston, 3 in KC. We'll see.
Oh, by the way, my guy Bladay's hitting too.
Yeah,
we haven't mentioned that.
Yeah,
I still have my love for Bladay. Put Lawrence Butler at short. Law dog
swings. Hey, Statcast loves him.
Coming up next, is it just us? Bill covers this better than anybody. What's going on with Jacob Wilson? We'll find out next right here on A's Cast Live.
Whether it's a midweek trip to the ballpark to catch a game or a weekend of baseball for the family, grab your tickets for an A's game this season. Secure your seats today for all the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. Don't miss out on all the things happening this season.
Rose and Seth. It's a drive into center. It's deep, and Straw is back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
So grab yours now at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Baseball season is officially here, and there's no better time to build your collection of Topps trading cards. Topps packs feature everything from top stars, rookies, game-used memorabilia, and autographs from players around the league, as well as special inserts and surprises. Visit your local hobby shop, retailers, and Topps.com to collect the first product of the season, Topps Baseball Series 1. Follow @Topps on social media to join the conversation and start sharing your collection today.
With an advanced network, cybersecurity solutions, and trusted partnership, Comcast Business powers more businesses than anyone. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with internet and security for your small business for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with qualifying internet. Call today. Ends 5/5/24. Restrictions apply.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
Hi, fans. This season, Kingsford Capital Management is the official hedge fund sponsor of the Oakland A's. At Kingsford, down to business is their way of seeing the world. Investing has its pitfalls, treacherous chasms of half-truth and despair. Kingsford's mission is to create opportunity through application of proven innovation and entrepreneurial focus with trust, tenacity, loyalty, and growth, establishing a strong reputation as a proven intendant and validated bedrock of American finance. Kingsford Capital, down to business.
With the sunshine returning, it's time for golf, and more golf at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. Cinnabar Hills is also your destination for great food with their beautiful renovated restaurant and quality craft beer selection at their full bar. Featuring a grass driving range and 27 championship caliber holes, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club is the best public course in the Bay Area. For more information, go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
This is Chris Townsend. There are two things that are a must for me: comfort and style. Whether I'm playing golf, going to dinner, I've got to have the right feel. That's why I've partnered with Linksole, and you're going to love Linksole. They have just released their new spring line, new fabrics for their polos, lightweight and perfect for technical performance. Linksole also has new styles for their layers and hoodies with cool prints and seasonal colors. You know what they say in the big leagues: look good, play good. Go to linksole.com. That's linksole.com.
You deserve extra. Extra Mile is where you get it. You don't just deserve breakfast. You deserve extra fresh Mile 1 coffee just the way you like it. You deserve more than a quick bite. You deserve an extra satisfying array of hot foods, extra good snacks, and fountain drinks that help you go the extra mile. Plus, with Extra Mile rewards, you can earn free stuff. Visit Extra Mile at select Chevron and Texaco locations. See program terms and conditions for details.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding. Love where you sleep.
You're listening to A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Bill's not going to tell us that this is going to be Paul Skeens and you got like check boxes and stuff for Jacob Wilson, is he? He's not going to go Ben Cherington on us?
No. Did you see Charrington's interview on MLB Now today, though?
No.
He was on there. He talked about what the boxes he had to check were. We can get into that after.
Oh, my God. Editor-in-chief of Athletics Farm, the great Bill Moriarty, joins us here on A's Cast Live. How are you, my friend?
Good. How you doing today, Towny?
I'm doing well. I know we've talked about this before. I've said this a bunch of times, but when I was down at spring training and got a chance to call a couple games, the one game that stood out to me was at Camelback Ranch. I know this is a broken record, but I got to say it again. So you got the Dodgers. I don't know. They kind of spent some money on their players. They got some pretty good players. And the A's were at playing at Camelback, and I'm just watching Jacob Wilson. And I go, you know what? He doesn't look like a guy who was just out of college. He doesn't look like a guy that doesn't fit in. Started that day, ripped a ball into right field for a base hit, played good defense, and I went, he looks like everybody else. He didn't look like a minor leaguer. And we had an interview with him, and I said, joking with him, going, you're sizing all these guys up, huh? This is your job. And he laughed. But I'm like, seize the moment, bro. This is it. And then he goes and it's 455 in AA, and now he's already hitting in AAA. And, Bill, we've seen this with great players. They play amongst the people you put them with, and they so rise above everybody. It doesn't matter if we're talking football, basketball, baseball, golf, tennis. The really good ones rise above everybody they're playing against. We're seeing Jacob Wilson do that. What is your take on this kid?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious at this point. He's pretty darn close. I think you couldn't be happier with the season he's had, your #1 draft pick. He's basically, leading the system in batting average, on base percentage, even slugging percentage at this point. I think OPS, whatever metric you want to use now, he's top of the list. And to get to AAA in your first full season is pretty darn impressive. His first 4 games at Vegas now at AAA, he's hitting .368. So, he's really slowed down from that .450 batting average. So the guy, has so far done everything you could ask for him, I guess, except take all the walks some people would like. But obviously, he's doing what he needs to do. And, he's showing that he doesn't appear to be too far away. So, I just don't know what more you could possibly ask or hope for from Jacob Wilson at this stage of the game. I mean, he's playing at AAA. He's just a phone away. So I just think you couldn't be happier with his progress in his first full season of pro ball.
So when we evaluate him in AAA, knowing that I always joke it's like arena football, there's like so many points being scored, right? Here it's so many runs. And like, how do we really evaluate? We could evaluate him at Midland, but how do you really evaluate him in this league where just the numbers Sky Bolt was like Mickey Mantle? Like, how do you evaluate this?
Well, I think it's a little easier with a guy like Jacob Wilson because he's not, a home run hitter, so it's not like, oh, he hit, a whole bunch of cheap home runs. That's not really his game. I think what's interesting to look at for him is the doubles he's hit. He leads all A's minor leaguers in doubles this season. I think he's already got 15 doubles, over this just a little more than the first month of the minor league season. And I think for Jacob Wilson to be a successful major league player, it's not going to be because he starts hitting home runs. It's going to be because he can drive the ball into the gap and rack up those doubles. So I think to see that he's getting those doubles on a basis, and he's already hit a couple doubles in Vegas too. And I think that's something more to look for him. I think it's hard to evaluate those power hitters where you're not sure if half of those home runs would go over the fence in Oakland that go over the fence in Las Vegas. But Wilson, I think he's the kind of hitter it's a little easier to evaluate as long as he keeps the batting average up, keeps getting on base, keeps putting balls in the gap for doubles. I mean, I think that's really all you need to see out of him in Vegas.
Would you say right now he is the future shortstop of the Athletics?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think that's an easy call. It's a matter of when, not if, it's just a matter of when that's going to happen. He's the best defensive shortstop of all the guys at the higher levels of the system. And he's certainly proven to be the best hitting shortstop at the higher levels of the system. So, I mean, I think that spot's his for the taking. It's just a matter of when they need to do it. Since Wilson's gone to Vegas, they've had Max Muncy playing a little second base,
that's
a little third base.
Now what do we do? What do you do with Hernandez? What do you do with Max Muncy 2.0? What do you do with these? If we're saying, all right, hey, listen, Wilson's a guy at short. What do you do with these other guys? I mean, we've seen Logan Davidson move off short. What do you do with these other guys?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that the A's have really put an emphasis on increasing versatility amongst their minor league players, because you never really know where the opening's going to be or when somebody's going to claim a spot. So, I mean, I think Muncy, maybe profiles best at third base in the future. If Zach Geloff does what Zach Geloff can do, he's going to be at second. You got Wilson at short. Third base, that appears to be the most open position in the infield. I'd like to see Darell Hernandez maybe become a lot more versatile. He seems like the kind of guy that maybe could be one of those utility guys that you move all over the field if you just give him some reps in different spots and you could plug him in different places. Health has a lot to do with it. Guys ends up having injuries. Things happen. But I think at this point, Jacob Wilson certainly appears to be the shortstop of the future. So if you're another shortstop in the A's system, your best bet is probably starting to get some reps at third base, because that appears to be the most open of the infield spots at this point.
What do you make of Max Muncy as you've watched him grow? He's gotten a lot bigger. He's definitely very athletic. We got to see him down at spring training. What do you make of him and his future for what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. We really shouldn't overlook Max Muncy. He's a very good player. He's a former first-round draft pick, and he really turned the corner in the second half last year when he got promoted to Midland. He really started being a lot more selective at the plate. And when we talk about a player being selective, we don't just mean, not swinging at balls out of the zone. We mean, swinging at targeting balls that you can really do damage with. And he really started doing that a lot more at Midland in the second half. He got off to a pretty good start at Vegas this year, too. Had a little hand injury. He's back from the IL now, but he's hitting about 275 at Vegas. He's been getting a lot of doubles there too. Max Muncy he's got some power, he's got some speed. He's become much better defensively at shortstop. So, he's a quality player, and I think he's going to fit in somewhere, in the A's lineup in the future. So we shouldn't overlook Max Muncy at all. And, he's still young too. Remember, we just drafted him out of high school, and he's moved relatively quickly for a high school kid too. As you mentioned, Darryl Hernandez is in the picture. Let's not forget about Brett Harris, Max Schumann, all these guys, but you give everybody a shot, you see who takes it and runs with it. And, like I said, there's always injuries. So guys will always have opportunities to prove themselves if given the opportunity, and injuries usually end up providing that opportunity sooner or later. But we definitely shouldn't forget about Max Muncy. I think, he's a future major leaguer for the A's as well.
Jordan Diaz, I just wanted to look it up because we talk about young, and I mention all the time, when you look at his at-bats as a professional, he's really not young. And I just looked at, he's hitting 207, 603 OPS, 25 games so far this year. What do you make of the future at 23 years old for Jordan Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the future was looking much brighter for Jordan Diaz about a year ago than it is right now. I mean, he honestly hasn't been getting even completely regular playing time. He's kind of been plugged in here and there. He's been playing second base more than anywhere. And, he's just not in the lineup every day. So, from the way they're using him, it seems that he's kind of, fallen off the radar a little bit in the way that sort of Logan Davidson did too at one point, where these guys just aren't in the lineup every day. They're not given a regular position. So, I'm kind of thinking that unless things dramatically change for Jordan Diaz, that the front office probably isn't, factoring him into their major league plans a whole lot at this point. It was interesting when Max Muncy went on the IL, and before Jacob Wilson came up, Logan Davidson started playing shortstop again, his original position at Las Vegas, and suddenly he started hitting like crazy, and he's been hitting very well again. So I'm kind of curious to see whether Logan Davidson is going to put himself back on the radar and back in the conversation again. Former first-round draft pick, he's got some tools, but he had kind of fallen off the radar there for a bit as well. But it would be good to see him, put himself back in the conversation as well. But as you can see, the good news is there are a lot of legitimate guys at the higher level of AAA right now that you can imagine, contributing for the big league club in the future, which is obviously great to see at this stage of the game.
Yeah, Logan Davidson out of Clemson. I remember when we interviewed him, shortstop, but he's now proven infield, outfield. We talk about versatility. You hit, find a place for you. And he's a good enough athlete to play all these different positions. That fits right in. Let's switch over to Double A, because when we say that Midland is the spot we're really looking at with the future of the A's is in Midland right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a lot of intriguing prospects at Midland. I think on the hitting side, Colby Thomas, the outfielder, has gotten off to a tremendous start. He's leading the system in home runs with 8 right now. I think he's got one of the best slugging percentages in the system. I think he's hitting around 275 maybe. He wasn't drafted that long ago, and he's having a tremendous season at Midland, where again, it's not an easy hitting environment. So I'd say on the offensive side of things, he's really the standout there at this point. But what's really been the story at Midland is the pitching staff has just been dominant there this year, one of the best in the Texas League. And so many of these pitchers that have had injuries or struggles really kind of got back on track. You had Gunnar Hoagland's been pitching every 5th day. He's leading Midland in innings pitched this year, which is good to see for a guy who seems to have been
third. I'm looking at a third.
Yeah.
What? He's pitching. We got guys throwing innings.
I know. And this guy was injured for most of his career, and now he's the innings leader at Midland. And, he's been pitching pretty well too. So it's good to see him. He was a prospect, at one point before the injuries. Also, JT Ginn got off to a very good start there. He was just promoted to Las Vegas. In his first start at Vegas, JT Ginn allowed 1 run in 6 innings and struck out 10. So JT Ginn is now healthy and only 1 step away from the majors. Also, Ryan Cusick got off to a great start at Midland. His first two starts, he threw 10 scoreless innings, allowed just 1 hit. He was the Texas League Pitcher of the Week. Unfortunately, he had a bit of an oblique injury, so now he's on the IL, but it's not an arm thing or a shoulder thing. So Cushing got off to a good start. And then Royber Salinas and Brady Basso were both pitching great at Midland. They're both on the 40-man roster, and they both had ERAs around 3 at Midland, both striking out, maybe I think 11 or 12 guys per 9 innings there. They both got a brief 1 start at Vegas. Now they're back down at Midland, but with the injuries going on right now, they could be back up at Vegas soon too. So you've got a lot of promising arms there at Midland right now. Salinas, Basso, Hoagland, Cusick when he's healthy, and Jack Cushing made a start the other day at Midland through 5 perfect innings for Midland. So there's a lot of arms. Oh, and I shouldn't forget at Midland too in the bullpen. Remember Grant Holman? He's been the closer at Midland. He's pitched 13 scoreless innings to start out the season. I think he's got 22 strikeouts in 13 innings. Totally unscored upon there as the closer at Midland as well. So Grant Holman could be, a future bullpen arm for the A's there. That's AA right now.
Yeah, 22 strikeouts. I'm just looking at right now. 22 strikeouts in 13 innings. And I still have potential sponsorships if he can turn it around. Blake Beers could make a lot of money someday in sponsorship. I want to get back to the hitters because a good friend of mine is Denzel Clark's agent. I've heard nothing that Denzel Clark is the greatest athlete. Denzel Clark this, Denzel Clark that. Denzel Clark was with Team Canada last year, the WBC, and on and on and on. And I see 28 games hitting a .176, OPS of 540. Like, great athlete, Denzel Clark. When are we going to start seeing some production?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with Denzel, he had sort of pretty significant shoulder surgery, and he was coming back from that. He's still kind of warming up. He got off to a very cold start like the first week or so of the season, and he's actually been improving and hitting more as time's gone on, but it takes a while for those numbers to come back up. But I think Denzel Clark probably still has the highest offensive ceiling of any prospect in the A system right now. I mean, he's a guy with real power. He's got real speed. He can play center field. He can make the plays out there. I think Denzel Clark is going to be fine. I think he was slowed by this shoulder surgery. He's still getting back in the swing of things, but he has slowly been improving week by week there at Midland. And I think before long, it's probably all going to click in, and he's going to go on a tear, and those numbers can change dramatically when Denzel Clark gets hot. But I think he still should be considered, a top outfield prospect there. And then, as I mentioned, with Colby Thomas in the outfield there as well, he looks to be another legitimate power hitting outfielder that could be on the way soon too. So, I wouldn't be too discouraged by Denzel Clark's start. I think it was due to that shoulder issue. And I think, like I said, he's been getting better week by week. And, the Midland team has been very good, very solid. You've got plenty of promising guys there. And as the season progresses, I'm sure there'll be more openings in AAA, and you'll see a lot of those guys move up to Vegas before long too.
How about Daniel Susak, the #1 pick out of Arizona? He's a big catcher, like 6'5".
Yeah, he is. And he got off to a bit of a slow start as well. He had some issues, but he's been rounding into shape again. I think he had 3 hits in last night's game. And, he's starting to look like the kind of guy you would hope him to be. He finally played a game at first base. We'd been wondering if we were ever going to see him at first base as well. So they started to do that now. At some point, the A's make almost every minor league catcher play a little bit of first base. So finally, Daniel Susak's getting a little time over there too. So he's got some options in the field, but I think he's going to be just fine as well once he warms up. I think he'll be, he had over 300 at Lansing last year. He's a real player. He's a first round pick as well, and I wouldn't be too worried about him. I'm sure he'll get going at Midland soon, but I think Denzel Clark, Colby Thomas, Daniel Susak. You've got a lot of really legitimate hitters there in Midland. But again, the pitching is I think what I'm so excited about there, because so many of these guys were not healthy. They're finally healthy. They're throwing well. And as you know, there's always pitching injuries. There's always openings on the major league staff, as we know, so you can't have enough pitching depth. And that's what's been really good to see at Midland this year.
All right, let's go down to Lansing, the old lug nuts. My guy Henry Bolte down there. What do you got down there in High A?
Yeah, Henry Bolte's been doing good. Again, he's still very young, people forget, but he's got 5 home runs and 13 stolen bases in the early going, showing the power, showing the speed. I think he's hitting about 250, still striking out a lot, but again, he's very young. I think he'll figure it out a little more. It's always learning to just have a better sense of the zone, is one of the things that's harder for the younger players, but he's showing the power, he's showing the speed, he's playing every day. He's making a lot of big plays. He's getting a lot of big hits. He's also taking his walks and getting on base too. So, I think pretty much everything you could hope for him to do there as a young kid. So I wouldn't worry about Henry Bolte. I think he's going to move through the system as he should, and as you would hope, and as you would expect. Also kind of surprising, a draft pick from last year, first baseman Will Simpson has probably been the best hitter at Lansing this year. He's hitting about 320. Got a high on base percentage, good slugging percentage. He hit really well in the second half at Stockton after he was drafted last year. Not a high draft pick, but he's done nothing but hit. And I know a lot of the A's development people are excited about Will Simpson and think the A's were lucky to get him in the draft last year. But also, Luis Morales is back pitching at Lansing. He's gotten off to a bit of a bumpy start. He's been pitching about 3 innings per start. I think he's got an ERA in the 6s right now, but he's just warming up. He had a bit of a shoulder issue in the off season. But a guy, I don't know if you've heard of, Will Johnston, is probably the most gotten off the most remarkable start of any pitcher in the A's minor league system. Started at Stockton, now he's at Lansing. He's got an ERA of about 1.20, and I think he's thrown 22 innings, 40 strikeouts between Stockton and Lansing. He's a left-hander, which is always good too. Again, he's probably had the most remarkable start. Just drafted last year, got off to a tremendous start at Stockton, one of the first pitchers promoted to Lansing. Been pitching very well too. Again, ERA about 120, 40 strikeouts and 22 innings for a left-hander who was just drafted last year. So Will Johnston's one of the most exciting pitchers at Lansing right now.
What round did he go in?
I think he was maybe like the 13th or something. I mean, but somewhere between the 10th and the 15th.
See, this is what I'm talking about. I get so tired of hearing about, well, the Orioles or the Astros and all the first round picks. Like, hey, you need to hit on round 3, round 6, round 9. You draft these guys, you raise them, you teach them. It's your job to get them to be at the big leagues. Yes, you should have 13-round picks who make the big leagues. You should have. I mean, now we don't. Back in my day, Bill, you had endless rounds, like 70 rounds. You top 20 rounds, yeah, you should be producing guys from your system. That's your job. That's why you pay all these coaches. That's why you're paying all these people, and that's why we have a minor leagues, is some of these guys are supposed to make it to the big leagues.
Yeah, you got to hit on some of those lower round picks. Another guy you'll like too, our 12th round pick last year, catcher Cole Kahn, was just the player of the week in the California League this last week. 12th round pick. He's been a catcher doing a great job at Stockton, getting on base. He's been doing a good job behind the plate. I think he's been throwing out about a third of the attempted base stealers at Stockton too. So, and he's a switch hitting catcher, just drafted last year in the 12th round, California League player of the league. Getting on base and doing a good job behind the plate for a 12th round pick. That's pretty good.
I like it. Any trends that you want to throw out there that you're seeing early with whether it be the A's minor league system or in the minor leagues?
Well, I think one thing that's pretty clear is they really are trying to increase the versatility of so many of these prospects. There's a lot of guys that you see maybe had just played one position their whole life. Even early in the season, you're starting to see them move guys around, trying to increase their versatility a lot. So there's a few different routes to get to the major leagues. But one other thing I don't know if you're aware of in the minor and the lower levels in Lansing and Stockton, you might not like the sound of this, but let me explain it. They're using 10 starting pitchers at Lansing, 10 starting pitchers at Stockton, and they're operating out of 5 two-man tandems. So you've got 2 starting pitchers going every 5th day. I knew you'd love to hear that. But one of the reasons they're doing it is kind of audition more guys for the starting pitching role. You kind of see eventually who works, who doesn't. And then once you get to Midland and Vegas, they're using traditional 5-man rotations there. But at the two lower levels, we've got 10 starting pitchers operating out of 5 2-man tandems. Okay.
I can get behind. You know what? If you said to me, each day I'm going to start 2 guys, right? Let's say Chris and Cody, we're the Monday crew. I go the first 4, he goes the second 4. Like I could give 2 you-know-whats, whether Lansing or Midland. I don't care who's winning, right? I understand we want to promote winning. And all right, if we're in Stockton, on Monday, I go the first 4, then he goes the second 4. And then 5 days later, we flip-flop.
Exactly.
Then he goes the first 4. I'm cool with that because now more guys are getting more innings. But if you're telling me, though, we're trying to do it to protect guys, the proof is in the pudding the last 10 years. Less innings, throw harder is not protecting them. We have more injuries than ever.
Yeah, well, I'm told there's multiple reasons for it. One is to audition more guys for the starting role. You stretch guys out a little bit. You're kind of getting more innings out of more pitchers, and you're seeing, who really thrives in that role. But I have been told that part of it is as well to try to protect their arms a little bit too. So, you might agree with half of that equation and not the other, but
I'm cool with half.
Yeah. So that's exactly what they've been doing. In 1 week, the one guy, is the first starter, the other guy's the second, then the roles reverse the second time around. So it's kind of interesting to see how that's playing out anyway. But right now you've got 10 starting pitchers in Lansing, 10 starting pitchers in Stockton. We'll see who thrives, who survives it. But at Midland and Vegas, they've been traditionally going with your typical 5-man rotations, which last year, I don't know if you recall, they were going with 6-man rotations at Vegas and Midland. So we're back to traditional 5-man rotations there. We'll see what happens with Blackburn going on the IL, and talk about Alex Wood maybe too. So pitching might get stretched thin a little bit at the top of the system. So we'll see how that all plays out. But at the lower levels, they're definitely taking a novel approach with those 10 starting pitchers at each affiliate down there.
It's really, and I don't want to seem callous here, but I just really start to wonder, relievers in the minor leagues. Like when you really think about it, like what's more important? Is it to find a bunch of relievers, or like what we just said, every single day you get 4? Because a lot of these starters, if they don't make it as starters, they'll turn relievers anyway. So do I want to train a bunch of 1-inning guys, or would I rather try and train a bunch of starters? And I know if these starters don't work, I can turn them into relievers.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea of you're giving a lot more guys a chance to audition for the role, and no matter how good they look in practice, till you see guys out there on the mound, operating as a starting pitcher, you really don't know for certain who's going to take to the role. So I kind of like that notion that you're stretching out a lot more guys, giving a lot more guys a chance, seeing how they perform. And the cream will rise to the top, So that part
but we're going to use less relievers.
Oh, yeah.
Means the bullpen's not going to get used as much. And once again, I don't want to seem like a bad guy, but how many guys do we really have in these minor league systems who are just relievers and they have zero chance of ever making the big leagues? Our best arms are usually starters. And what I'm saying is, I want to see these guys. If they don't make it as starters, they're still our best arms, and then we can turn them into relievers.
Absolutely. Right now, there's only 6 relievers at Lansing and Stockton with this new system, so you don't need as big a bullpen. And as you know, if you're a relief pitcher in the minor leagues, you're probably not that high on the radar. Your odds of making it to the majors as a minor league reliever are not great. So you're better off being in that starting role anyway. You can always put guys in the bullpen at the higher levels. And in recent recent years, a lot of the guys the A's add to the bullpen, they'll sign as minor league free agents. And they sign a lot of these minor league free agent relievers to fill the bullpen at AAA Vegas every year. Anyway, a lot of the relievers at the lower levels, the A's minor league system never even get a chance to make it to Vegas. So you got a lot more guys in the mix now, a lot fewer guys pitching out of the bullpen in those lower profile roles at the lower levels. So I think that's a good thing anyway, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the course of the season.
Great stuff as always. You are the best, my man, and thank you for everything you do for us on A's Cast. It is so great for the fans to. I don't know how many teams are doing what we're doing, but what you do for us and to keep everybody updated, it's really cool.
Great. Thanks a lot, Towny. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, be well. Bill Moriarty, editor-in-chief of A's Farm.
It's interesting you brought up about the tandem starters, because remember, we've talked this, was it last year or 2 years ago, we were talking about how the Dodgers low A affiliate, Rancho Cucamonga, were going.
Rancho Cucamonga, hello.
I think they were going like 3 innings or maybe just over.
Is that Larry
3.
King? San Luis Obispo, hello.
Sounds like it, yeah. But they were training their guys in the low minor leagues in the Cal League not to go far into games.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking like, what the hell? Now we're doing tandem starters.
But I'm cool with that, right? Like, I'm cool with and then we'll talk to David Force about it next time. It's like Cody and Chris. So we're the Monday guy, right? You go 4, I go 4. Then 5 days later, well, you throw the first 4, I throw the second 4. And 5 days later, then you throw the first 4, and I then throw or you know what I mean? We go vice versa of who actually starts the game, who comes in. But now I know, right? Because what happens is, and that's why you'll hear me talk about all the time when I'm interviewing Mitch Spence or a Kyle Muller, and I say, you were a starter, and I did with Mason Miller. As a starter, you have a routine. Like the worst routine I've ever seen was Daniel Mingden. He needed like 2 hours before the game. It was crazy with Daniel Mingden. But as a starter, and I know from my career, like as a starter, game day, there's a time that you show up. There's a time that you dress. There's a time that you eat. There's a time that you go out, how you stretch, how you warm up, because there'll be running involved. I run poles. I play catch. I play long toss. I have a routine, right, of how I get ready for a game. Versus the bullpen, Scott Emerson picks up the phone, get Cody up. You got to be up. Boom, boom, boom. 8. You got to get hot. You got to be ready to go. You can't wait a long time to get ready. As a reliever, you have to learn. That's why I see them all with the bands and they're all stretching it, because you've got to be ready to get up, throw, and come in the game. It's 2 different styles of pitching. It's 2 different styles of preparation. But if we're tandem starting, if you say on Monday, you're starting the first 4, I'm starting the next 4, the way the minor league ballparks are, I literally could get the way I like to get ready. So as you're starting your first 4, I then, let's say they got a bike. I can get on the bike. I can get my body going, second inning. Hell, I can go in the parking lot and play long toss and get ready and then start throwing my bullpen in the 3rd inning. You know what I mean? I can get prepared as a starter to come in the 5th inning after you go your 4. So that one day you start, I do the next 4, then we flip-flop it. So we're still getting like we're having a start. And I don't mean to be a jerk, but we got all these minor league relievers. They're never making it to the big leagues. Throw 2 starters every game. You get 4, I get 4. You got a closer for the 9th inning, preparing a closer, like the guys that you've drafted that you believe blows smoke and has a chance. You're 100-mile-an-hour guy. And then out of these starters that don't make it but have good arms, that's really where your bullpen guys will come from. It's a good strategy. Now, if you're just throwing guys 2-3 innings, worthless. They're not learning. I still can learn with 4 innings. My whole thing is you've got to learn to get out of trouble. You have to understand that. You have to understand how you're going to get in trouble and how you pitch out of it. And you can't learn just, I'm coming for 2 innings and throwing as hard as I can. That's how these guys are burning out their arms. You've got to learn, the a la Verlander, I'm going to sit at this, but when I need to hump up and get out of trouble, I can do it. But living at max all the time will lead to injuries.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the actual numbers like we did last year and see how many innings the starters are averaging for us and Lansing and Stockton. I feel like the other day when I was watching the Ports play the San Jose Giants, I feel like the starting pitcher for the Ports went a little deeper, but I like what you're talking about in theory, but how often does a guy go 4 innings? Or are they letting him go 4 innings? Or are they going 3 innings? Like, I like the idea. I really do, but I just don't know if that's actually what they're. We have no idea what they're actually doing.
On our day off, I played golf with 2 guys that we all played college baseball, and we just laughed, going, in high school, I was the starter, I was the middleman, I was the closer. No one came in relief of me. I was going 7 innings every game. Then I got into college, and I became a closer/middle guy. And then I had to be a starter my senior year. 78 pitches? Paul Skeens, for God's sake, 78 pitches. He's feeling good at 78. Taking guys out at 78 pitches is a joke. And I said it the other day, and it's funny. How much time we got?
A little over 10 minutes. So I was going to say, do you want to do the big 3?
Yeah, let's get to the big 3. Let's get to the big 3. It's Monday. It's big 3.
Well, my number 1 was Paul Skeens.
Do you not have an open for it?
No, I haven't come up with one yet.
Oh, wow. You've been busy?
I don't know how to. I'm just trying to think of what I want to do for
big
it.
3.
I think big 3. I think Steph, Clay, and Dre.
I think these guys.
Yeah, that's true. Trying to think if there's any other big 3s.
There's been a lot of big. There's Fab Five.
There's the big 3 in Boston with.
There's been multiple sets of big 3s with the Mets. Generation K.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Well, so that was Pulsiver,
Isringhausen,
and Paul Wilson.
Yeah.
Then that was Generation K for the Mets. Then what was DeGrom? You had DeGrom. You had
Wheeler.
Thor.
Oh, Syndergaard.
And who was the third they had then?
Was it Wheeler or was it Steven Matz?
Wheeler was a giant, if you remember. He was.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler was traded for Beltran.
Yeah, but okay. So if it wasn't him, then it would.
I don't know. I'm not in the Mets system, so I don't really.
Yeah.
I'm just.
It would have been either him or Steven.
Wasn't that a big 3?
It would have been him or Matz. Yeah.
Yes, it was Steven Matz.
Yeah.
Did they have a nickname?
I don't know.
Should have been the all hair. They had beautiful hair. If we go back to one of the great hair rotations in the history of baseball, DeGrom and Thor's blonde, blowing hair. They were at Shea then, right? Or were they all at Citi Field?
I think it was Citi, yeah.
Did they play at Shea?
When did Shea?
Are we now that long that Citi Field's been around that long?
Citi Field has been. It opened in 2009, so no, none of those guys would have been there.
Citi Field, the blonde hair. DeGrom's locks were great too. DeGrom. It was an all hair squad.
So Matt Harvey.
Steven Matz was a short haircut. The Dark Knight, was he after them?
No, he was before them, right? Because Harvey was starting in the when was Harvey? Talk about a falling off the.
Was that a big 4 then? The Dark Knight.
His first year was 2012.
Wow.
So they might have all been around the same time. Well,
you mean A's AAA pitcher, Matt Hart?
Yeah. Wow. Yes. When was that? What year was that? 21.
When the A's were doing Scott Boras a favor.
Well, yeah. All
right, get to the big 3.
Well, my number 1. There was number 1 story over the weekend. It's Paul Skeens' major league debut. 4 innings, 7 strikeouts, and 84 pitches.
Who set the over and under at 4 2/3?
And who hit the under?
Who set that? This guy. You guys were all he's going to go 5, 6, 7 innings. He's going to dominate. He won't even go 5 innings. What did he finish at?
4.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. You're welcome, America. You're welcome.
Everyone goes, oh, well, he hit 17 pitches over 100 miles an hour. Let's see how that plays out longer in his career.
Under 5 innings. You're welcome, America.
Then there was a lengthy rain delay. The Pirates bullpen ends up walking 6 straight batters, essentially, and then they end up winning, on
also predicted Livy Dunn would be interviewed during the game. That's number 2 I got right in that game.
Yeah, so she's going to interview during every game.
Yeah, she should.
So
she's a national champion, for God's sake.
Yeah, so there's my number 1 big story in baseball over the weekend.
All right, I like it. I'll piggyback on that for one. This is not my number 1. My third will be my biggest. Paul Skeens showed and I've talked a lot about this, how important the starting pitcher is. Baseball has tried to devalue the guy with the ball. And in sports, the guy who has the ball is the most important guy. Pitcher, quarterback, point guard, center in hockey, they're important. Now, you could have a scorer like Michael Jordan, or you could have a center like Shaquille O'Neal or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, name the great center, that they're great players. But the guy that handles the ball, if you got a guy who touches the ball the most and he stinks, you're in trouble, right? Centers in hockey set everybody up. You got great scorers, well, you got to have a center set everybody up. I'm not Mr. Hockey. I'm not Gordie Howe, but I know that.
Correct, yes.
Right? The guy with the ball has to be competent. The guy with the ball has to be good. And baseball has tried to minimize it because we don't want to pay people. But Paul Skeens showed Major League Baseball. It showed New York. What you're doing by having starting pitchers, the win doesn't matter, and all this garbage you guys have thrown out. Paul Skeens shows pitching and starting pitching is so big for the entertainment part of our game. You can analytic whatever to me. It doesn't mean it's good business. And by the way, this is a business. Hate to tell you. You can tell me how analytics, and I love analytics, but there's other where you take it so far. The fact that you've made the probable pitching matchups not matter because we know guys aren't going deep, that's not good for ticket sales. That's not good for radio ratings. That's not good for TV ratings. How is minimizing the guy who starts the action? How does that work for your business? Paul Skeens, everything we saw Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Skeens. Biggest pitching matchup. When you get fired up back in the day for a playoff game, it's Clemens, it's Dave Stewart. You know, in that game, Walt Weiss might have been the biggest answer, right? Mike Greenwell might have had a big hit. But what going into the game, the matchup of Clemens against Stewart was the headline. Starting pitching matters. That's hopefully what baseball, and that's why we need to do something. We change rules, but Paul Skeens showed us once again, just like the debut of Strasburg, that you've got a big gun coming out, and there's the hype, what that means. As Gary Brown, our buddy who's the play-by-play man for the Pirates, kept saying, can you believe, what was the date? It was May 9th, whatever.
He pitched Saturday, so it would have been the 10th. 11th.
It's May 11th in Pittsburgh, and it's like a playoff game. He kept saying that because the playoff guy for the Pirates is like, we got a full house. This guy has brought people. People have spent their good hard-earned money to come watch him play. Starting pitching matters, and Paul Skeens showed that once again.
And one thing, too, like no one's really going to remember this, but it wasn't like he went up against some no-name guy from the Cubs. Justin Steele pitched for the Cubs.
Very good pitcher.
And he was a very good pitcher, and the Pirates got to him early, but obviously, like, people weren't worrying about but Justin Steele making his second start coming off the IL, that ties right into what you're talking about. Like, that's a good pitching matchup to watch, those two guys.
Sizzle on the steak, man. What is your top thing when you look at analytics for a starting pitcher?
Well, everyone's going to say strikeouts or velo.
I'm asking you.
Oh, I always look at strikeouts.
Okay. Well, if we just said, here's the two pitchers today, and here's what they strike out, is that sizzle on the steak?
For most people, probably not, but dorks like me, yes.
But you don't pay to get that.
Yeah, I get it, yes.
I have a business, man. I got to get people to pay to come to games. It's a business. It's the entertainment business. If you're trying to sell me, I've got the guy that's going to show up for 4 innings and try and strike everybody out, and then he's out. Is that a good business model?
No.
Number 2.
Since we talked so much about the StatCast tracking with the batting, I thought that because it was everywhere today, that was a big thing. But I'm actually going to go. Padres-Dodgers series over the weekend was great. Padres holding the Dodgers to shutting them out the last game, holding them to 1 run on Friday. 46,000 people at Petco Park. That was a slaying of the dragon moment for the.
It's just the Padres slaying the dragon, my ass.
So that was one of the things for me. I don't want to use the StatCast one because we went over that so much already. I didn't want to.
All right, so this is the big 3. We're taking the big 3 takeaways from over the weekend. My number 2. And they're not in order, just giving them because my 3rd is my biggest. Number 2 is Brent Rooker. I am enjoying watching him play. I am proud of him. We're watching somebody who all these years people thought this is the guy he can be. He's becoming that guy. He has worked really, really hard, and it just goes to show you never give up, because if Brent Rooker didn't make the A's last year, who knows where his career is right now. It was Rooker or Pache. The A's chose Rooker, and it changed his life, and seized the moment, and he's done that. And now the way he's truly playing at an all-star level. Like everybody's like, oh, Mason Miller is the A's. I'll tell you right now, Brent Rooker, the way he is playing right now, Brent Rooker should be an all-star. Long way to go. But the way Brent Rooker is playing, I got to tell you, I'm proud of him. And I think it's been a treat for all of us who cover the A's and watch the A's. And we're all A's fans. To watch this every day and to watch the at-bats and to watch how he's smoking balls, but now he's not striking out, and he can flare it to right field, and he can turn on it down the line, he can get base hits, he can get doubles, and he can still hit the ball out of the ballpark. To watch him be a complete hitter and to watch it day in and day out, my expectations used to be strikeout or home run. That's not anymore. I'm loving watching Brent Rooker turn into a tremendous hitter, and I hope he's not going to sustain hitting 450. That's not possible. But he can sustain being a really productive offensive player, and I can't wait to watch his growth. That's number 2 for me.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking while you're talking, I was looking at Twitter because I wanted to see if there's anything updates with the A's. We can get to those in a second real quick. My third one's Jacob Wilson. Been in AAA for 4 games. He's already had 2 games with 3 hits in a game. He walked at least once. I mean, I know it's not a lot, but he's walking. They want to walk. He's only struck out once, and he's showing that he could be a really good contact hitter and be the future shortstop that the A's have needed since Marcus Semien left. So I think Jacob Wilson is my biggest one. Like Skeens is too obvious. I think Jacob Wilson's progression is my number 1. What's yours?
You're done?
Well, the only thing I've left.
I would say I wanted to do this, but it would be unkind. Is I found out that when I start ripping the Pirates on text, Cody doesn't respond. I mean, because I was loving every minute of seeing Livy Dunn. I just love Pittsburgh. How is she great for Pittsburgh? And then watching him go out early, and then watch the Pirates lose the whole thing. I was enjoying it. Your misery was your misery was my joy. I was loving it.
It was so on brand for them to blow that game until the end.
And I was texting Cody, and I got no replies. Back. So now here's my number 1, and this is probably being real serious. And I know I like to joke around, and I'm very sarcastic, and I get it, but this is real serious. I learned something this weekend being over at NBC. And I want everybody to picture this as we live in an A's bubble. Most of the Bay Area doesn't care. Most of the Bay Area thinks we're in Vegas next year. A lot of people have no idea, and they don't care. There's a lot of people who have no idea the A's are even leaving. And then there's a lot of people who just think the A's. There are a lot of people who thought the A's, they barely hear it. They thought the A's were playing in Vegas this year. Or they just know the A's are going to Vegas. Like, it's 90, probably like 90. It's over 95% of the Bay Area, large area, a lot of stuff going on. They don't know. So our bubble is not as big. When we live in it, it consumes our world, but the rest of the world, it's not as important to them. I understand that, because I understand everybody that I know. They're always, well, you're in Vegas next year. You're like, no, but they don't follow it every day. But inside our A's bubble world, I realize that the people who are at the ballpark that are at the ballpark for every game, especially us employees for the A's, we are in a different bubble. We are in it's like a different world, because NBC is part of the A's bubble. They're in the bubble. We're in a bubble world, right? It's like Atlantis under the sea, right? And there's different parts of Atlantis, right? We're in the main center of Atlantis. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
We're under the sea in this bubble. We're all together, but we're in the center. We're the A's. We're A's employees, right? Well, I ventured out of my A's center and went to a different part of the bubble, which is NBC. And I just realized, wow, we are a lot different. And we view, we see, we know different than other people in our bubble. And people said stuff to me over the weekend. I went, what? What did you say? Like, what are you thinking? Like, wow. So when you read stuff on X/Twitter or Instagram or stuff, and I now understand like how people are like, I can't believe that was said. We are all for all of us who are in the bubble and in this Atlantis, we're not all in the same parts of the bubble. And I really learned that. I got a whole different perspective of what's really happening versus facts, opinions. And then I think there's a lot of what people are still hoping in the end will happen, even though it is not based on facts at all. I was like floored at some of the conversations that I had this weekend at NBC. I was literally floored. Like, you think what? Like, what? And I really kept my mouth shut on a lot of things, just going, wow, that's not right. That's not happening. No shot. I mean, we, my friend, are in a whole different bubble than everybody else. We're in Atlantis, we're in the center of it. And once you venture out, it's like, whoa. It's like we're in the city and you go out into the country and like, it's different. People think differently. It was an education this weekend being over at NBC doing TV. It was interesting. Nothing bad. It's just our worlds are all a little different. Even though we're all in the same Atlantis bubble, our worlds are a little bit different. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
I had to mention that.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we got the A's and the Astros. It's a 4-game set. Geoff Blum, the great Cal Bear, the World Series hero for the White Sox, and, of course, this television for the Astros. We thank him for stopping by. Bill Moriarty was fantastic once again talking about the A's minor league system. We're back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. A's Total Access next right here on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Whether it's a midweek trip to the ballpark to catch a game or a weekend of baseball for the family, grab your tickets for an A's game this season. Secure your seats today for all the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. Don't miss out on all the things happening this season.
Rose and Seth. It's a drive into center. It's deep, and Straw is back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
So grab yours now at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Baseball season is officially here, and there's no better time to build your collection of Topps trading cards. Topps packs feature everything from top stars, rookies, game-used memorabilia, and autographs from players around the league, as well as special inserts and surprises. Visit your local hobby shop, retailers, and Topps.com to collect the first product of the season, Topps Baseball Series 1. Follow @Topps on social media to join the conversation and start sharing your collection today.
Hi, fans. This season, Kingsford Capital Management is the official hedge fund sponsor of the Oakland A's. At Kingsford, down to business is their way of seeing the world. Investing has its pitfalls, treacherous chasms of half-truth and despair. Kingsford's mission is to create opportunity through application of proven innovation and entrepreneurial focus with trust, tenacity, loyalty, and growth, establishing a strong reputation as a proven intendant and validated bedrock of American finance. Kingsford Capital, down to business.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
This is Chris Townsend. I'm proud to announce our year 2 partnership with Link Soul. They've changed my wardrobe, and they can do the same for you. And right now, their spring collection is fabulous. Natural fabrics and versatile styles, perfect for this time of the year. And they want to introduce their performance line for golf, premium for on-course apparel design, and to keep you cool and dry. Check it all out, linksoul.com. That's linksoul.com. Remember, look good, play good.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.